exciting. This is Love Sport Breakfast. Myself, Richard Lee, and Patrick Christys here with you until 10. I've gone back.
I was thinking, actually, I'd quite like to swap.
Just for a day?
No, life. I'd quite like to be here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a revelation.
Because I've seen the car that you park outside. I'd quite like to drive that.
I mean, you could, get yourself one of those.
Well, I'd have to nick it.
Okay, well, I mean, look, there's ways and means, but...
I've got a feeling that this audio is going to be played in court.
Yeah, my keys are always here on the table.
Okay.
If suddenly you disappear one day,
Hey.
I'll put two and two together. How are we?
Yeah, good. I'm really excited for today's show, actually. We've got absolutely loads coming up. Just some stuff in terms of, basically, Gareth Southgate is saying that England are almost definitely going to get face racial abuse in Bulgaria. This is an absolute shocking state of affairs. We're going to get stuck into that. We've also got the fact that Anthony Joshua's trainer knew that he was concussed and allowed him to fight on. I know we're going to get stuck into this because I'm not quite sure AJ's been the same since this Andy Ruiz Jr. defeat. We've got the Ashes as well. We've got a couple of other funny little pieces. So Wayne Rooney's been videoed singing in a karaoke bar in DC with pint in hand.
And he was very good, wasn't he?
No,
okay.
he was not.
We'll listen to that later on as well. You're right.
Also,
go on.
Also, fashion faux pas in sport. So a swimmer was disqualified because she, while swimming, got a wedgie.
Okay.
And the judges decided that this in some way was A, definitely her fault, B, deliberate, and C, that kind of thing cannot stand. So they've got rid of her. We're going to be talking about some faux pas in football as well.
There's a few. Can't help but feel it's a little bit unfortunate, the wedgie. I mean,
massively.
Yeah. Unless she purposefully went out there, which I can't imagine she would.
Also, not be funny, it's swimming, isn't it? Like with the blokes, just to go there in their budgie smugglers, you know, and you're just like, well, that's okay, isn't it? But, we can't have it. How dare you? How dare you have a wedgie? Yeah.
Well, look, where do you want to start today, Patrick? Because I always lead the way, but there is so much to talk about today, and of course, there's plenty to discuss. Well, I suppose this racism thing is probably a place to start, because it's a bit bizarre, really, that we're heading over there, heading to Bulgaria, and it's already come out that we're expecting racist abuse and almost prepared for it. Yeah,
it's a bit of a weird thing. Well, it's very weird, this. It's Gareth Southgate is on high alert because a Bulgaria fan was arrested and charged with racism when England played Bulgaria very recently. And that was directed at Raheem Sterling, who seems to just cop all of this all the time. And so Gareth Southgate's come out and just said, look, we're going to Bulgaria next month, and we're having a word with the players about the fact that it's not if they are going to get racially abused, it's kind of when they're going to get racially abused. And I just find it staggering because Bulgaria were fined £34,250 by UEFA in 2011 when one of their fans abused Ashley Young. And we talk about something needing to be a deterrent. Well, it's not, is it, if their fans are continuing to do it? I'm just wondering whether or not realistically UEFA need to step in now and go, well, let's not play this in Bulgaria.
It's a fair point. I think from Gareth Southgate's point of view, this is the whole, I love this saying, the whole controlling the controllables. Look, it's whether it's right or wrong. Well, in fact, it is wrong. Of course, we know it's wrong. But whether it's right or wrong, he knows this is going to happen. So he's like, look, we need to prepare for it because it will happen. Therefore, the last thing he would want as the manager of a football team is the team not to perform to its optimum because of an external fact, which, by the way, this, and rightly, for a lot of the players, if they're getting this kind of abuse, rightly, they're going to lose their focus because they're going to be incensed, they're going to want to write whatever's going on. So if he can prepare them, almost being like, look, I don't agree with what's about to happen, but it is going to happen, and I need you to be tuned in for the game because, and if you're not going to be tuned in, again, that's okay, and I understand it, but I need to know because ultimately, right or wrong, we're putting out a team to win a game of football.
Well, this is it. So we're going to do a poll, actually, on our Twitter, at Love Sport Radio. Stay tuned for this, which is just going to be, what do you think England should do? Should they not turn up to the game? Should we not play, knowing that there's going to be racism there? B, walk off the pitch if there is going to be racism? C, carry on and win the game. So this is going to be the poll that we're going to run. So obviously get voting in that at Love Sport Radio on Twitter as and when that goes live. But that's the dispute at the moment, isn't it? And I just feel like if you know that a bomb is about to go off, you don't just walk towards it.
No.
And we know that this is going to happen in Bulgaria, and we're going anyway. It's a really tricky situation.
What do you think, though? Because it's one where, what do you then say we don't play the game? But then what does FIFA do?
I don't want to make the decision for England's black players. Like, that's very much what they have to decide, you know, whether or not how they want to handle it. And I imagine that's what Gareth Southgate is speaking to them about. And I think that very much has to be the case. You can't it's almost as bad, isn't it, as the racism itself, if you have essentially a white manager and, people like myself, a white guy, telling them to just play on. I'll go out and win the game. Well, I'm not the one being racially abused, and I think it is very much for them.
Would you agree with Gareth Southgate that it is a strategy, though, of, essentially saying to them, look, let's just be honest about this. This is going to happen. Almost giving them the choice, saying, look, do you still want to play? Because it is going to happen. Like, we know that it's different over there than it is here, although obviously it's not perfect here by any means, but it's different over there than it is here. Are you going to be okay with it?
You could go completely the other way with it, which is to pick as many black players as you have in your squad, even if it means playing some of them slightly out of position. Because let's be honest, we're playing Bulgaria; they're not world beaters. You pick as many black players as you possibly can. You having obviously with their consent and having spoken to them about it, and you put them out there, and you just stuff Bulgaria about 7-0. I mean, what better kind of motivation would you need to go and absolutely knock a team out of the park than by going, look, I tell you what, you're there giving it all to us from the stands. I tell you what, we've just made your players look like absolute mugs. Have a bit of that.
Obviously, they were fine, weren't they, last time, 2012, but the fine was like 34,000 something or other. It was nothing really in the grand scheme of things.
I think if a fine costs less than a car that the players are driving, then, to be honest with you, it's a meaningless fine, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I've heard one of the lads just bought a £1.2 million Bugatti, so...
Really?
Yeah. So
ramp it up.
They have to ramp up those fines.
Ramp it up!
Yeah, indeed. Plenty more going on. A little bit of cricket as well, I know we're going to discuss at some point, because Roy has been dropped.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later on. Like, I feel a bit sorry for Jason Roy, because it was a little bit like kind of sending a chihuahua into a dogfight and then just dropping it at the last minute and going, tell you what, work on your jaw strength, mate. Like, the idea that Joe Root has dropped him to go and work on his red ball cricket and then gone, but not for the next 5 days. Don't bother working on it.
I do feel a bit sorry, and I know, and I've learned so much more about his technique and the issues he's got when it comes to red ball cricket, and the fact that he was out with the same ball over and over again. Like, so but it's a shame because you do feel that after the World Cup, he was one of the heroes. Yeah, like he was brilliant in the World Cup, and it's just been tarnished slightly, and not necessarily his fault because this isn't his game. He's not an opening batsman in red ball cricket.
Yeah, well, it's just not. This is the thing, isn't it? It's a really bizarre thing. So it's like if you just played John Terry in goal all the time and then criticised him for not coming for crosses.
Yeah, it's like playing me in goal and criticising me.
Yeah, I think you got the record for shouting yours, haven't you? The most times during a 90-minute period.
We used to have a little private joke, me and the players, where I'd keep shouting, keepers away! At the same time. It was became a thing. Come on, Rich, keepers away! Which one? The keepers or away?
Yeah, fantastic. I like that because it keeps you back 4 on edge.
But this is it. So it just meant I'm keeping all options open. Like, keep us away. I might come, but if I realise I'm not coming, then you know I've already told you to go away. So
it's a lottery!
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah. Brilliant. Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
Joshua. He obviously suffered. His trainer, Rob McCracken, who, by the way, was Carl Froch's trainer, did a lot of work with the England Olympic team as well. So, look, Rob McCracken knows what he's on about. Anyway, interesting story this. He's come out and said that he knew that Anthony Joshua was concussed during the Andy Ruiz Jr. fight, and he let him carry on because he thought, well, he'll get a few rounds in him. And this is the dilemma, because what we're hearing now is, experts claim it could have been fatal. Well, I suppose it could have been, but do you let? I mean, it's boxing, isn't it?
And is it his call to make? Maybe it is, and some will be like 100%. But he's not a doctor, so he thinks he was concussed. He doesn't know that he was concussed. Surely, look. And again, this is me saying this without all the information. I'll hold my hands up. But surely, that's got to be something they're keeping constant watch over. Is he concussed? Is he concussed? That's not for your man in the corner to be telling you whether you are or not. Like, he wants you to go out and win the fight.
Yeah, well, this is it. So basically, Rob McCracken has told the BBC, I know him better than all these experts, so I knew that he was concussed, is what he said. And this is the dilemma, isn't it? Because my take on this is just moving it on slightly, is that I'm not sure that Anthony Joshua has been the same since.
I get the impression the last few interviews, and by the way, this is someone who I've always had as being particularly well-spoken, intelligent. The last few interviews, he doesn't seem like he's all there for me. I'm really concerned for him going into this fight, because if he puts up a really poor performance, which I can see happening, I just don't feel that he is 100% mentally at the moment, then well, that'll be him. That'll be him in the boxing world, as far as I'm concerned. But actually, a little bit more than that. Like you say, it seems like his personality's changed slightly.
It does. So there was that now famous footage from what happened during the end of one of the rounds when he was in his corner, and he just looks at his trainer and just goes, "Why am I feeling like this?"
Yeah.
And this was, I think, the round before he got knocked out, right, or got made to quit. And that obviously is a big indication that somebody is just literally not quite in the room. Then you see his post-fight interviews and you think, right, fair play. It's the immediate aftermath of you losing to a fat Mexican bus driver, right? And so, and you're not going to necessarily be yourself. I mean, I wouldn't be. I've been bit. And then, though, we've seen him interviewed twice in the last week. One was on the whole issue of fighting in Saudi Arabia, and the responses that he gave to that were bizarre. It was just a case of him kind of not making much sense.
It was like, you get the dolls when you're younger, the dolls, you pull the string out the back and they just say phrases.
Yeah.
Just say, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like I had a Lion-O. Do you remember that? Lion-O.
I am quite a lot younger than you.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
That's had like a He-Man, or was that my era?
No? I've had a few He-Man, Rich, but none of those.
All right, but you know what I mean? When you pull the string and they say one of their, reach for the stars, or, that kind of thing.
So you had a motivational doll, did you?
No, that was Toy Story.
You can be whatever you want to be.
That was Toy Story. That was Woody.
Oh, okay.
Reach for the sky. Oh, that might have been Buzz.
To infinity.
There you go.
Beyond, that's the one.
There you go. That's the one. So you pull the string to infinity and beyond. It felt a bit like that. He just kept coming out with.
Yeah.
It was like a big Anthony Joshua doll. I abide by the law.
Yeah.
All right. What does that even mean, Anthony? What are you talking about? And he had like 4 or 5 of these that he produced. I was like, who's pulling the string?
Yeah, it was bizarre.
And he heard behind him with just some giant string.
Just like a massive puppeteer. It was like a big boxing Thunderbird. But yeah, so honestly, so this is it. I'm not sure that Anthony Joshua has been the same. He sounds punch drunk. That's the word. He sounds punch drunk. Now, look, he might just go and absolutely dispatch Andy Ruiz Jr. for a while. But it also cracked me up that Eddie Hearn goes, "Oh, Anthony Joshua, he's got that hunger back." Well, I can guarantee you one thing about Andy Ruiz Jr. He's never lost the hunger, has he?
That hunger's never gone anywhere. He is absolutely starving.
Oh, he's ravenous.
He is.
He is. Yeah, I mean, that guy, he's just hungry for success, isn't he?
He is so hungry.
Yeah.
If you was to have a string attached, what would be your phrases? I'm just thinking this through. You'd have a few classics.
I don't know, because I think I'd just be like a really niche political doll.
It'd just be pull the string. That's just risible.
Yeah.
That'd be one, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be one. Labour have had more positions in the Kama Sutra on Brexit.
That kind of stuff. It'd be a real kind of, It'd be one of those dolls you just groan at. Oh, Patrick. Anyway, enough about inserting strings on our backs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Later on, I just want to throw ahead to something that we've got coming up later on, okay, which is that Wayne Rooney has been videoed in a karaoke bar in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
With a pint in hand.
Yeah.
And I suggest possibly a few already in his throat, singing numerous karaoke songs to the point where it does look a little bit like everyone else in the bar wants him to do one.
Really?
But it's bad, mate.
Okay.
It's bad. So we're going to be playing you that clip, and also I've managed to dig out some other embarrassing sing-songs that footballers have had.
Okay.
So it's quite a common thing, isn't it? Your initiation ceremony, a new football club, you end up being told to sing, don't you? By the way, Wayne Rooney, unless you're being initiated at this bar, which I doubt it, because it looks like he's there quite often, there's no excuse for him singing Folsom Prison Blues and Rocket Man by Elton John.
I love that song.
And you can really, really hear the scouse.
Oh, I love Rocket Man. Oh, I'm really looking forward to
You don't
this.
anymore, honestly, mate. This is, to be honest with you, it's not Rocket Man.
Well, we never had our initiation songs here at Love Sport, did we? Is that how we're going to finish off this section?
Well, I've been doing my vocal exercises.
Okay.
Yep. The Uber driver did not enjoy it. Oh, let me tell you that much. Yeah. But no, I'll be singing a rendition of Come On Eileen later.
Chord 7.
Love Sport.
Hello, I'm Tim from Bolsover. I'm a retired teacher. I was looking for a better electricity deal from my parents when I got an email from a spokesman said it was a fixed deal for 2 years, which was better for my parents, less for them to worry about. And when I had a look at the sums, I had to recheck because I couldn't quite believe it. They were going to save over £900 each year they were on that deal. Needless to say, we signed up pretty quickly.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee. and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus to stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
I like Putin. He gets me. I like Trump. I've got him. Love sport.
That's what breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys, and now Chris Bailey.
It's business. It's business time. I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say it's time for business. It's business time.
Ooh. Good morning, Mr. Bailey.
Good morning.
Good.
You enjoyed that last bit, didn't you?
I'll tell you what, it's good they turn our mics off for the 10 seconds or so before that, because it goes a little bit crazy.
Some people have argued they should turn them off for 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's quite funny when they joke about that.
It is, yeah.
Radio doesn't really work in that way. I mean, was it radio silence and whatever? I can't see it being that popular, to be honest.
Well, some say an improvement. Who knows? Plenty to discuss. Treasury under fire for promoting duty-free shopping.
Yeah, we touched on duty-free shopping yesterday, and the fact that if we actually have a no-deal Brexit, then bizarrely it actually means that the duties that are applied on things like cigarettes, alcohol and related would kind of, at least temporarily, fall away. Now, the Treasury's kind of taken this to the next level in the last day or two with some actual adverts or social media kind of imagery and whatever highlighting this. And of course, inevitably, it's led to a bit of criticism. A few people are saying, hang on, this is crazy. We shouldn't be encouraging people to, buy cheaper cigarettes or booze or something like that. Some have even said it breaks government rules on the promotion of cheap tobacco and stuff like that. So a right old mess and everything else. I guess another reason why perhaps striking a deal with the rest of the European Union just maybe makes life a bit easier.
Yeah, so I've seen these adverts essentially for cheap tobacco and booze, which initially made me quite happy because I never thought the government would do anything like this. But they did miss out the cold, hard reality of what duty-free shopping is, which is when you see a lady who looks like she's called something like Sandra stumbling off a plane like a Ryanair aircraft has just touched down in Malaga with like 250 cigarettes cradled under her arm and like a litre and a half of scotch, just like shouting at her kids behind her, come on, I haven't had chicken nuggets in an hour.
There you go. Johnson has urged to back £3.5 billion plan to overhaul railways in the Midlands.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is the ongoing saga of UK railways. Obviously, we've had HS2 and all these high-speed rail stuff, which could be postponed or delayed or may not even happen. But we've got another lobby group here saying, look, it makes complete sense to try and link up all these towns in the Midlands and things a little bit further north than London, just to boost the UK economy. All sounds quite smart, but obviously what it is a big lobbying of the government, because as we know, they're in pre-election mode. They announced a week or two ago a bunch of extra spending, and this is an attempt to try to get other stuff kind of in the anticipated legislation and spending book in order to make it happen in the first place. So, we'll see. It seems to make sense, linking stuff up via rail and other infrastructure makes complete sense. But as always, we don't have enough money. That's the trouble. We can't do everything we want to do.
It's the trouble for many, many people. Mike Ashley says he wants to be one of the big fish.
Well, here's somebody with a bunch of money. Obviously, Mr. Ashley, controversial figure, obviously Supremo of Sports Direct, a great, obviously, Premiership lover and everything else. But, he's under the cosh because Sports Direct's had an absolute shocker in the last few years. Shares are sharply down. He's obviously under a lot of pressure. He's bought a bunch of different things, House of Fraser, Evans Cycles, obviously had a tout to things like Debenhams and stuff like that as well. A lot of it hasn't really worked how he hoped. He's under a lot of pressure. Interesting interview. He had to meet up with some shareholders and other sort of city types yesterday. He didn't like it. He admitted it. He said that he wants to be one of the big fish, one of the big survivors of the kind of the retail apocalypse backdrop. He said that even though obviously he is embracing online, ultimately he thinks retail physical stores, or bricks as he calls it, bricks rather than clicks, will still be a place to be. So he's pretty optimistic. He didn't say anything about Newcastle though. Didn't say whether he would kind of back them to stay in the Premiership this year or not, but he's backing his own ability to remain a business titan.
I've got a theory about Mike Ashley that actually what he wants to do is become Britain's biggest landlord, right? Because we all know that high streets are, no matter what Mike Ashley says, high streets are failing. We all shop online now a lot of the time. So I think he's just buying up a lot of these places like your House of Frasers and all this kind of stuff. And I could be wrong, Chris, but I'm assuming that means that you maybe own or some of the buildings that they're in, I would have thought. And I just wonder whether or not he's going to go, right, okay, one day, right, I'll close you all, town centre housing, bish bash bosh, Mike Ashley, we see him next on Rogue Landlords.
Absolutely. I think rezoning might have a small problem with that, but apart from that, it sounds a good plan.
Good.
I reckon, though, they should have competitive drinking of business owners, because, of course, allegedly, previously, it was something called an annual general meeting he had yesterday. There was a previous one where apparently it took place in a pub. He had 12 points, vomited in the fireplace, and that was that, which I think is possibly a much better way of undertaking business. Sports Direct was more successful when he did that than today.
Can you imagine if Mike Ashley ran The Apprentice? And just all the tasks is just like, get it down, you do it.
What would be his tagline? He can't do the "you're fired." What would it be?
Or you're sloshed.
Chris,
you're relegated. I think it'd be more.
They're looking that way. Chris, just lastly, really, you got to be so careful when you're praising Patrick's half-baked ideas, because he will run with them. Okay, just be really careful.
I think in today's world, the bar is set tremendously low by the government and other hangers-on. So I say, Patrick, go for it.
You had me at bar, Chris. You had me at bar.
As always, Chris, thank you very much.
See ya.
Chris Bailey there, founder of financialorbit.com. What's going on?
Right, okay,
nice smooth way in which we move into the next.
Yeah, so look, okay, so we've spoken about the fact that England are almost definitely going to face racial abuse when they play Bulgaria in Sofia. We're going to be running a Twitter poll on this throughout the show, at Love Sport Radio on Twitter. Should England play at all? Should England walk off if they do get racially abused? Should they carry on and try and win the game? So get voting on that when it goes live very, very shortly. We've spoken as well about the fact that Anthony Joshua, his trainer, knew that he was concussed during the first fight with Andy Ruiz Jr. And off the back of that, he decided that he still wanted to let him carry on. People saying he could have been killed, bringing back eerie kind of memories of remember when the ball got thundered into the back of Robin van Persie's head, and Sir Alex Ferguson came out after the game. They could have killed the boy. They could have killed him. It's a bit excessive there. Also now Wilfried Zaha
has dumped his agent.
He's dumped his agent.
Well, he's trying to. It's all good and well these stories come out. Realistically, he hasn't dumped his agent. His agent won't release him.
Right. So hang on a minute. So Wilfried Zaha is trapped.
Yes. Trapped in a contract. Yes.
Trapped in a contract.
Yep.
Gosh. So Wilfried Zaha
hasn't dumped his agent. He wants to dump his agent, and the agent will say no.
So what you're saying, Rich, and by the way, how very dare you, is that you know more about this than the journalist who's written the story.
Apparently so.
Right.
Yeah, unless you're out of contract with your agent. If you were the agent of Wilfried Zaha, would you let him go?
Well, no, but what I also can't understand is, if you can't sell Wilfried Zaha, then I question how good an agent you are, isn't it? Isn't it, though? Seriously. It's bonkers, though.
He's a good product.
It would be like saying, oh, gosh, I just can't shift these quarter-pounders at McDonald's. I don't know what's going on. No one wants them. I can't get them anywhere. I mean, if I was Wilfried Zaha and the clock ticked down to the end of the summer transfer window, I think I'd have had a word.
Right, okay. And this is where it is an interesting world, the agency world, because at what point everyone knows Wilfried Zaha exists, so it's not like he's a travelling salesman knocking on like.
I'd love that, by the way.
Yeah, knocking on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's door, with a briefcase. Here you go, Ollie. I've got this lad here. He's very, very good. You're just bringing Wilfried with him. Like, check him out. Look, he's fit. He's lean. He's ready. You can have him for £50 million.
Do your press ups, Wilf.
Go on, show him. Go on. No, do it one hand. You do it one arm.
Look at that.
Yeah. Go on, run really fast down the road. Yeah. Show him. Look, Ollie. Look. It doesn't work like that. He's not a travelling salesman. So everyone knows Wilfried Zaha exists. The fact that he hasn't been bought isn't necessarily the agent's fault.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll throw in Wayne Hennessy. I'll throw it in. 2 for 1. Bish, bash, bosh. Shake my hand.
God. You're robbing me blind. I'm not looking.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic.
So he's not. Look, now whether he ends up moving on from the agent, the only thing is, it's not good PR for the agent, of course, because it looks a little bit negative. It looks very negative. You've got someone like Wilfried Zaha coming out saying, I want to leave you. It looks very negative. But he will be under contract. The agent won't necessarily let him walk away. So unless he is out of contract before January 1st, then he won't be going anywhere.
Yeah, just some other news about Vincent Kompany's testimonial last night. It was quite a good game, actually. Paul Scholes has still got it, by the way. I you know what? I would just keep picking him for Manchester United. Some of the passes that guy plays are incredible. Vincent Kompany missed it because he's got a hamstring injury.
And Gary Neville?
And Gary Neville pulled up with a hamstring injury as well. This is it, isn't it? When you go and buy tickets to these testimonial games, it's like watching football in slow motion with a lot of paramedics.
Let's hear from Kompany.
It's typical of me, right? So I'm usually there for the end of the season, and I've got a slight hamstring injury, so I couldn't unfortunately risk it tonight, but still plenty of awesome plays to be watching today. And anyway, it's about a celebration. To say goodbyes, it doesn't need to be on the pitch.
I couldn't risk it because I've got a game coming up. Never.
Yeah, that's it, isn't
really?
it? Really? So since taking over at Anderlecht, he's dropped himself as player and also kind of shirked a lot of the managerial responsibilities as well.
Surely you just roll up for 10 minutes, just a few little passes here and there. Very, very simple. Anyway, 3 minutes to 7.
This is Love Sport.
Hi, I'm Marilyn from Oxfordshire. My current insurance company quoted £245 and 8 pence to reinsure. And a spokesman said, obtain me a price of £173.49 for the same cover. This was a fantastic saving for me. And next time my car insurance comes up for renewal, I will be going through a spokesman said. No doubt about that.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit WEDOOH.com. We Do. The smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
Love for breakfast, me, Richard Lee. Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. We've got lots coming up in the next hour. We're going to be talking a little bit of cricket. We're going to be talking to Wally Downs Jr., boxing writer for The Sun. Current affairs. Did Boris lie to the Queen and fat kids? That's two different subjects.
It's two different. Boris lied to the Queen and fat kids.
It's two different subjects.
It is two different subjects.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
He didn't lie to them both. Although maybe he did.
Well, in a way.
Possibly.
We'll
be going through the papers as well. As always, you can get in touch. 0208 70 20 558. You can get in touch on the socials as well at Love Sport Radio, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. These days we're on YouTube as well, aren't we, Patrick?
We are. Say hello to everyone on YouTube. Yes, we have now cameras in the studio, so it feels a little bit like a Chinese prison. Yeah. But I enjoy it.
Me too. Last time we checked, I think we were at 1.3 million viewers.
Absolutely.
I think. Yeah. So see if you can help make it 1.4. We'd appreciate that. Do stay tuned. Love Sport Radio. The time is 7 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 7, government papers revealing the worst-case assumptions after a no-deal Brexit have been published. They warn of potential shortages of food and medicines, disruption to cross-channel traffic and rioting. It also says low-income groups would be disproportionately affected by price rises. Conservative MP Tom Tugendhat is concerned.
The best way to avoid this is to get a deal, and that's why I have voted for one 3 times, and I can only wish that more people had joined me, because then we wouldn't be talking about this, we'd be talking about the future trading arrangement with 27 important friends and neighbours.
A murder investigation's underway after a baby boy died after being rescued from a river in Greater Manchester. The child was pulled from the water in Radcliffe yesterday afternoon. A 22-year-old man's been arrested. A Commons Digital Committee wants loot boxes in video games to be regulated under gambling law. MPs say the feature, which allows people to buy virtual objects with real money, could lead to children taking up betting. They also want the industry to do more to stop people being lured into excessive playtime. Recently, the World Health Organization designated gaming disorder as a disease. This recovering addict, who's been voiced by an actor, says it's like other cravings.
I really like gaming. It's like, I suppose, people with other addictions. They like drugs and alcohol. I like being on the PC and the consoles. That's really what, if I'm being honest, that's what gets me down. The fact that I can't do it safely.
The families of a British-Australian woman and her Australian boyfriend who are detained in Iran have called for them to be allowed to come safely home. Jolie King and Mark Firkin had been documenting their holiday across 36 countries on social media. England Test cricket captain Joe Root says there's still plenty to play for in today's final Ashes Test. That's despite Australia being guaranteed to retain the urn as they have a 2-1 series lead. And Scottish Highland Football League side Fort William have won their first match in nearly 2.5 years. They beat Clacknacuddin 1-0 last night, their first victory for 882 days. That's latest. I'm Will Rowe.
This is Love Sport.
Looking for a car you can rely on? Take a fresh look at Peugeot, voted JD Power's 2019 most dependable brand in one of the UK's most trusted reliability surveys. Now's the time to put us to the test. Experience one of our award-winning cars and enjoy an exclusive upgrade to Peugeot offer now. Visit our website for full details. Make sure your next car is built with pride. Rediscover Peugeot today. Terms and conditions apply. Offer available until 30th September 2019. For JD Power 2019 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Love Sport Breakfast, myself, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. Let's go through the headlines. Joe Root will lead England, trying to avoid a second successive Ashes defeat under his leadership when the fifth and final test starts at the Oval this morning. It will be head coach Trevor Bayliss' last match in charge after 4 years at the helm. Jason Roy and Craig Overton have been dropped for all-rounders Sam Curran and Chris Wokes. Gareth Southgate fears England players will be racially abused in Bulgaria next month. The Bulgaria fan was kicked out of Wembley on Saturday after alleged racist abuse directed at Raheem Sterling. And UEFA fined Bulgaria just under $35,000 in 2011 when Ashley Young, Ashley Cole and Theo Walcott suffered abuse in a Euro 2012 qualifier. Anthony Joshua's trainer admitted he knew AJ was concussed during his defeat to Andy Ruiz Jr. Rob McCracken revelation prompted a furious reaction from brain injury experts who claimed Joshua could have died because the cornerman did not throw in the towel. And Wilfried Zaha has told his agent he wants to terminate their contract after failing to secure a move away from Crystal Palace. Will Salthouse has a close relationship with the club's chairman, Steve Parish, and has reportedly been informed of Zaha's desire to end their relationship in writing. This is Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys.
Yeah, so just on that Zaha thing there, so Will Salthouse is his agent, obviously, isn't he?
Yes.
And obviously football agents sometimes, they don't necessarily have the best reputation, but you think Zaha might find it difficult to get out of this?
Yeah, he will. Yeah, no, there are some agents have horrendous reputations, and
others don't.
Others don't. Very true.
Some.
But some. Some of the stories. Oh Lord. Yeah. Will he leave? Well, look. So just for those who don't know, the way in which it works, of course, they have a contract with the club. Each player has their contract with the club. In fact, we're reading now about all these players that signing new contracts with their club. That's fine. A contract with an agent is a 2-year contract. Standard is a 2-year contract. It can be less, it can never be more. That's the maximum time you can sign with an agent. So then what tends to happen, if you're a player, as I was, you have an idea as to when your contract is running out, and ordinarily it will be normally between transfer windows. So let's say that your contract was running out in November this year. Well, technically, there's not a lot more the agent can do for you now. They're either going to re-sign you on another 2-year contract, or you get the opportunity to leave in November and go and meet with other agents.
Didn't you once get turned over by one of your agents in a way where you could have ended up on a lot more money?
Oh, yeah. I had 5 agents. I went 2-year contracts. I had 5 in my career, yeah.
Right.
They were rubbish.
But I mean, look, you've done it right for yourself. But like, I mean, just there was that time when you found out, didn't you?
This is a good example. And this is where like people say, "Oh, why do you need an agent? Why don't you just?" You need an agent for leverage. It's as simple as that. If you've got an agent as a player, the agent will know what's going on in the market. They'll know if there's interest from other clubs. Now, if you're a player representing yourself, you're legally not allowed to know what's going on. You can't be speaking to other clubs for yourself. So ultimately, you'll go and sit down with the chairman. They'll be like, "Right, where's your agent?" You'll say, "Well, no, I'm doing it myself." They're like, "Fantastic," and they'll just give you what they give you, and then it'll end up being really, really small. And of course, business is business. They'll try and get you on the least amount of money they possibly can. In my case, it was when I was breaking through at Watford. I was doing very, very well. It looked like I knew I had rumours that there was Premier League interest at the time. I was only 21 and I was playing week in, week out, and it came to a new contract. Now, I only found this out years later that the chairman and the owner had budgeted a certain amount of money that they could possibly give me, and they were worried that my agent was going to come in and ask for a lot more because of the interest that was in me, and they're like, "Look, we're going to lose him. We're going to have to look to sell him in January and what have you." Anyway, apparently my agent came in and asked for half of the amount that they were willing to offer, so then they negotiated him down a little bit less. And I ended up signing a really poor contract. But the problem is, as a player, if you don't know what the market is, and for me as a kid, it was still big money for a 21-year-old. So I was delighted with the contract. So in the end, everyone kind of won, except me in hindsight. I should have been on probably double what I was on.
Who was your agent? Homer Simpson? Like, I could just picture you when you found out. You've got like you're at like a drinks reception, you're chatting away to the former chairman, you've got like a glass of wine in your hand, and then you hear it and the glass just shatters. You're right, Rich. Yeah, absolutely fine, mate. Absolutely fine. Oh.
There's that character on The Simpsons, isn't there? Gil. Gil was always trying to make a sale. That was who my agent was. Yeah.
Oh, Rich, I got you this great deal. So you were going to pay Watford, right, £1,000 a game to play, and you should be grateful for that.
You're going to pay subs. They're quite a lot, but it's
and
fine.
what's the kits? They threw that in. I just said yes.
So going back to our man, Mr. Zaha, he won't look unless his contract's up with the agent. In which case, then yes, he will move on. Realistically, he probably won't be leaving him if he is still under contract.
Just want to throw back something we've already discussed a little bit, which is the England racism fears when we go and play against Bulgaria in Sofia. We have just set a poll live on our Twitter at Love Sport Radio. Go and check it out and have a vote in it. What do you think about this? So Gareth Southgate has said that, well, he's having meetings with the players, saying it's not really a question of if black England players face racial abuse in Bulgaria, it's a question of when. And so he's preparing with them for this and having conversations with them, and we'll see what the upshot of that is. But my take on it is this. Bulgaria were fined £35,000 in 2011 for some racial abuse by some of their fans. £35,000 to a top-level footballer, of course, is absolutely naff all, and certainly for a national football federation is rubbish. I mean, what's £35,000? They don't even care. So that's happened. Raheem Sterling was apparently racially abused at Wembley when England played Bulgaria not so long ago, and now it's going to happen again. So we want to know what you think England should do. Should we A, just not turn up to the game, B, walk off if there is any of this nonsense going on, or C, carry on and win the game? So vote now in that poll at Love Sport Radio on Twitter.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we discussed it briefly. What are your thoughts? What would you suggest we do?
I am very conscious that I don't want to come across. I'm white, as everyone now actually on our YouTube channel can see. Hello. I don't want to tell like black players who are going to suffer racial abuse what I think they should do. I don't think that's not for me to say. What I do think, just in terms of what UEFA should do, and it is expel these teams from the competition. Like I said before, if you know a bomb is about to go off somewhere, you don't just walk towards it. Like if you know a house is about to set on fire, you don't stick around, do you? Like a plane crashing, you don't stay on it. Like, why on earth are we going, well, we know there's going to be racism in Bulgaria. Right then, what time's kick-off? You know, I find that bizarre.
I suppose the difficulty is, from Gareth Southgate's point of view, is that yes, he'll want FIFA, UEFA, whoever it is that's to deal with it, to deal with it. But if they don't, ultimately, what do you do as the manager? How much control, how much power do you have? Because the other part is, look, and I guess this is where my thinking is, that you'd say to the black players, look, this is going to happen. We can't avoid it. We've told UEFA, we've told who all the powers that be. Now, they might act, they might not. Now, if they don't, we've got this game coming up. We could boycott the game, but then that might cost us in terms of making the Euro qualifiers, making the Euro Championships, which we all want to play in. So you're kind of stuck in a bit of a hard place, really.
I think, I don't know Raheem Sterling personally, but just judging off the back of how he's dealt with racist incidents in the past, I get the impression that it's only going to make him play better and want to win more. That seems to be, I know it's going to be absolutely abhorrent that he's got to go through this, or well, he doesn't have to go through it, actually. The fact that he's been made to go through it. I know that from what I can see of him, it is just only going to make him want to score more goals and frankly mug them right off. And I do wonder whether or not England should go this way. If they decide to play the game, and obviously if the black players in that England setup have all said, look, I want to play, I'd pick them all. I'd pick them all. I'd send them out there and just watch us absolutely wipe the floor with Bulgaria. Just make it a cricket score, because we could do that. Look how good we are now. And the fact is that Raheem Sterling, it's about, at some point, next couple of years, should win the Ballon d'Or. So he will be the best player in the world. He will be a black English footballer. There's nothing to say that he can't go and score 5 against a Bulgarian team followed by a gabble of racists.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. Because the other side of it is if some of the black players say, no, I'd rather not play, well, then they win. Ultimately, well, I know we can win the game, but they win. If suddenly we turn up with a team of white players just to avoid that, then they win.
This is it, and that's fundamentally. I want to make one thing very clear. I just think it has to be down to like the black players that are playing for England, because you can't just tell them, oh, come on, what do you say? Oh, stiff upper lip, lads, just ignore it. Well, you're not the one being racially abused, are you? You know what I mean? So you can't do that. Look, if they are fine to play, if they decide they want to play, I honestly think it would be the most stupid thing in the world, or on a few grounds, but it would be the most stupid thing in the world for these Bulgaria fans to do, because they are going to watch their team, which they clearly are, it would seem, very proud of, because they're white. They're just going to watch them get absolutely spanked for 90 minutes. They're going to come off that pitch with their head in their hands, feeling miserable, and you know what? It will be a lot of England's black players who've contributed to their misery, and rightly so.
Look, I want to talk as well. I know we've got this at some point coming up in the show. I don't know when exactly, but I'm excited about it.
Yes.
About initiation songs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is
this
good.
Coming up soon? Because you keep tempting me with this.
Yeah. So anyone who's read The Sun today will see that Wayne Rooney, who, as far as I can tell, just seems to be going on a drinking tour of America.
Yeah. He's on one extended holiday, isn't he?
Yeah, it is just one large one-man stag do.
And do you know what, though? Each game you see, and we get a lot of the highlights on Sky Sports News. By the way, some brilliant goals, but he's getting slightly bigger each time, each game.
Around the jaw area.
Yeah, I don't know if he's been on the weights or if he's, but he's certainly piling on the muscle at the moment.
It's, yes. I mean, I do think there is potentially a chance that if you just kind of drained Wayne Rooney's stomach, you might be able to stock a Wetherspoons.
Yeah.
Just based on some of the videos that we've seen. So Wayne Rooney was videoed in a karaoke bar in Washington, D.C., which sounds like the start of a bad joke, doesn't it? Wayne Rooney walks into a karaoke bar in Washington, D.C., and so he's videoed singing Folsom Prison Blues and also Rocket Man by Elton John.
Love that song.
Yeah, he's also previously been featured singing with Ed Sheeran. So it's interesting, isn't it? Because Ed Sheeran's just released a collaboration album. Yeah. Wayne Rooney does not feature. So basically we've got video of that, we've got audio of that, but it made me think about some other football initiation ceremonies, because that seems to be a common thing you're made to sing at an initiation ceremony. So I managed to dig out some really good ones. There's Tammy Abraham, there's John Terry, Fraser Campbell as well. There's a couple of some are good, some are not, and we're just going to compare them to Wayne Rooney. And then, Rich, you sing.
And so do you.
And so do I. We didn't talk about that off air.
Fantastic. When are we going to do that?
Producer Kieran, when should we do this? Do it next. We're going to do it next. Fantastic.
14 minutes past 7.
I gave Kim Jong-un the upper hand, but only a tiny one.
This is Love Sport. Digital radio offers great sound quality and more stations than ever before. And we want to make sure that you get Love Sport on your digital radio. Just press the auto tune or auto scan button and Love Sport will appear on your menu. Love Sport on digital radio.
Hello, my name's Paula. I'm from the Shropshire area and I'm a business development manager. I use a spokesman said for my car insurance, where I've saved over £500, and also on travel insurance as well. So in total, me and my family have saved about £600. I would definitely use it again, and I would definitely recommend it.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Have you been injured in a road traffic accident, an accident at work, or an accident anywhere? It's your right to claim. you could be entitled to thousands of pounds in compensation. Harris Fowler are specialist personal injury solicitors with a 96.9% success rate, offering no win, no fee. Call 0800 213 214 to find out if you have a claim. 0800 213 214. Harris Fowler, the personal injury solicitors. Win rate based on cases issued and finished between the 1st of January and the 31st of December 2017.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
Love sport. Last Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10. We spoke plenty of cricket, football, every other sport. We haven't spoke too much boxing yet. We've touched on it, but we're going to go into a bit more detail now. And who better to do so with than Wally Downs Jr., boxing writer for The Sun. Morning, Wally.
Morning, fellas. You all right?
Yeah, good. Hope you're well too. The big story this morning on the back page of a few of the papers, actually, well, certainly the back page of The Sun, they're leading with it, was that, Anthony Joshua, his cornerman, knew that he was concussed.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone knew that Anthony was concussed. Anyone who would have watched that fight from the third round onwards, when he was kicked on the top of his head and his sort of body gave up on him, and he had that sort of vacant look, and the comments he was making in between rounds. Eddie Hearn even told us after the fight that not only was he concussed, he didn't know where he was. But I think the fact that Rob McCracken has came out Friday and admitted that has sort of, frightened a lot of people, especially when we're dealing with this sort of period where we're looking at concussion a lot more seriously in other sports. In football, we've had a few serious cases where footballers have been stopped from going out the week after, which is absolutely right, and rugby as well. But I mean, with boxing, fighters are suspended if they suffer a concussion almost instantly. I think AJ's was suspended indefinitely by New York, and that just means that until he gets checked medically and passes a medical, he's banned from boxing in that commission or area again. It would be exactly the same over here. So, I mean, it's a very old cliche that boxing is the one sport you don't play, and that's, I think, why, if you know the sport, you understand that concussions are a pretty regular occurrence, especially if you're getting dropped or knocked out. But he was stopped from boxing for a long time. He wasn't even allowed to leave his house for 48 hours under doctor's orders after that. So it's no surprise to us to learn that AJ was concussed, but I think Rob sort of admitting it, and the harsh reality of him being sent out for 4 more rounds, I think that's probably what has caught the eye of people.
So why do you think he did that? Because for my money, if they'd have stopped the fight and they'd almost invented something, even if you wouldn't have to invent something with concussion, but that almost obviously does give your victory to your opponent, doesn't it? You've rendered him concussed and therefore he can't continue. If they'd have said something else where, there is some kind of injury that's happened, maybe he says that he's just got a problem, one of the punches affected something to do with his vision or something like that. Well, actually, wouldn't that have just taken a lot of the heat off AJ? Because he could have come out after the fight immediately in that ring and gone, hey, right, look, you know what? I've just picked up this injury during a fight. I'm gonna go back again as soon as possible. I'm going to take these belts back. Whereas actually what happened was he continued and he got embarrassed, didn't he, really? And wouldn't it have been better for him to just pull him out of the fight?
I can't imagine any fighter would want to be pulled out of a fight on his feet. I mean, we've seen boxers very recently. I mean, Dadashev, the guy in Russia who lost his life, was on the Storm. Buddy McGirt, his trainer, was begging to pull him out. Boxers do not want to be pulled out of fights, especially when they're on their feet. Perhaps, the case of concussions is something that's got to be looked at more seriously, but no boxer wants to be told that they can't carry on, and they especially don't want to be seen to be pulling themselves out. It's the biggest taboo in boxing is to quit, whether that be on your stool or standing up, especially as early as round 3. And the punch didn't look terribly damaging. It wasn't a huge flush shot on the chin. It was a very strange shot that clipped him on the top of the head. And I think if he'd have pulled himself out, if Rob had pulled him out, I think the barrage of abuse that he would have got, not that it would have been right. Boxing fans who have a dig at fighters for pulling out fights or being pulled out, I think have got a real brass neck. But there's no way Anthony would have pulled himself out. You know, boxers come back. If you go look through history, there have been boxers who have been in horrendous states that have somehow pulled out miracles, and they're looked back on as the greatest comebacks ever. Exactly. You know, in boxing, if you're 3-0 down and you win 4-3, no one says you should have been pulled out.
Yeah.
It's happened. You know, some of the greatest fights ever have been incredible comebacks where boxers have got off the deck and won. So you can't really say that just because he's been knocked down or suffered a heavy punch that he's got to be pulled out. This is boxing. You know, this is people suffer concussions and they get up and they win. It's the harsh reality of it.
And this is the other side of it, isn't it? Which is that, look, anyone who starts boxing, let alone anyone who gets to Anthony Joshua's level, kind of knows the name of the game, don't they? That you are going to get hit in the head, and you're going to get hit in the head repeatedly until either you or the other bloke wins. And there is going to be some necessary element of risk and danger and damage in that. And this is what makes it such a grey area, I think, isn't it? And such a difficult area to get right. Just on Anthony Joshua, though, is he all right now? Because I've heard a few interviews with him recently. One in particular stood out for me where he was talking about the fact that he was fighting in Saudi Arabia. And he just sounded very, very vacant. He sounded quite spacey and quite punch drunk. Is he all right?
I completely agree with you. I think that we were sent home after the Ruiz first fight in New York. We waited for 2.5 hours in the press room at Madison Square Garden, and the security team come and said he's not doing press, he's leaving. So we were halfway down Fifth Avenue going home, and we got a call saying he's insisted on doing it. He'd been with a concussion doctor that was in there for ages. The concussion doctor said don't do a press conference, but he come out and he did it. And like anyone who's been dropped 7 times, you know, 4 times, he didn't look right. And you know, often in the post fight in the ring, fighters won't be interviewed if they look like that, but AJ was. So he definitely wasn't right straight away. I mean, I saw I think one of the interviews you might be referring to on Sky quite recently, which was his first in-depth one, and he certainly again just seemed a little bit off. But he has addressed those, and I think the most recent press conferences he's done in Saudi Arabia, New York, and the London leg, which was last Friday, I do think he's much more lucid. Maybe it's just a mood rather than a medical state. You know, if someone wanted to seem standoffish and disinterested, it's very different to someone who does an interview and wants to seem engaging with people. So perhaps maybe he's just clicked a bit of a switch and wants to seem more engaged, more interested, and more open. But I think there was definitely a period where he'd certainly seemed vacant. Certainly some of his answers were quite strange, stuff that we'd never heard from him before. But I think very much now that he would have fully recovered from any possible medical side effects from that fight, and I think maybe he's just sort of switched that switch where now he's selling a fight. He wants to be a part of it. Yeah, I think he's fine.
Got to move on to Tyson Fury. Of course, he's got his fight this weekend. He's been wearing a Mexican mask in the build-up, which has angered Andy Ruiz Jr. Simple question: why?
I think Andy might be looking at some sort of maybe cultural appropriation.
Why is he wearing a mask?
Why does Tyson do an awful lot of things he does? It's Mexican Independence Week over there, so he's gone over there and tried to ramp it up in the same way where he wore all the American Apollo Creed stuff when he went to Vegas. I mean, right. Joe Joyce boxed this time last year and again wore a poncho and a sombrero. I think Andy Ruiz might just be playing up to stuff. I mean, if it was something sort of a bit controversial, perhaps if it was a Native American headdress and he was fighting a Native American, you perhaps might be understand that, or are there other cultural...
It's a good job he's not fighting in Saudi Arabia, isn't it? That would be even worse, you would have thought.
Yes, yeah, that would go down too well if he was to sort of to mimic some other more perhaps culturally sensitive stuff. But yeah, I mean, the Mexican mask is a wrestling thing. Him and his coach Ben Davison have been wearing sort of little Mexican headbands. I can't imagine too many Mexicans will be offended or affronted by it.
Yeah, look, well, absolutely. Just on the Tyson Fury thing, I know Eddie Hearn came out and said that basically Tyson Fury's fighting a load of no-hopers who no one else wants to fight. No one's interested in his fights. He takes easy fights on. Is there some truth in that?
To be honest, any time Eddie talks about Tyson or Frank talks about one of Eddie's fighters, you take it all with a pinch of salt. These are rival promotions who don't like each other and always want to denigrate the other fight and make their own fight look great. I mean, who thought Andy Ruiz Jr. was any good before he boxed Anthony Joshua?
Yeah.
He was supposed to be a 19-stone no-hoper.
Yeah.
And, but now apparently he's this brilliant, deserved world champion, and it's going to be the world's best fight when they're clashing again. So I wouldn't take too much notice of it. I think Tom Schwartz was definitely a poor opponent, and I hope Otto Wallen isn't. I spoke yesterday to a British cruiserweight called Mikel Luau, who just won a big tournament, and he went out and sparred him a couple of years ago and said, power isn't his thing, but he's a skillful technical boxer, and he could take Tyson some rounds and make it awkward for him. I think Tyson is good enough that no one really troubles him, bar Wilder. It should be an easy night, and I don't think fans will have flocked out there in the way that they did for Wilder, but Tyson's defence is that he's earned the right to do it by doing what he did to Klitschko and Wilder. Personally thinking he's as good as he is, it's a bit of a waste of a fight for me. It's not something that I'm desperate to watch.
And a quick word on Derek Chisora. Had an expletive-filled rant earlier this week.
Which we can hear now. No, we're not playing it. We're not playing it.
Not today. After his fight with Parker was placed on the undercard. What do you make of his attitude at the moment?
You never know with Derek. He's hyped 3 massive fights by getting physical in press conferences. He tricked Eddie Hearn 2 fights back to pay him a load more money by pretending that he was injured before he boxed Takam and he was going to pull out. So Eddie gave him a few more thousands of pounds, and he ended up knocking Takam out in sensational style. This one, I do think, is genuine, simply because of the insults he threw at the headline and Adam Smith, who's the head of boxing at Sky. It was a live broadcast. I do think that Derek was serious in this, as opposed to the previous times when I know he was either hyping a fight to get more pay-per-views or just trying to make a fight. So a lot of people have rightly looked at this and said, oh, this is just Derek playing Derek and he's looking for more money. I think he is looking for money, but I think he's genuine. And it was a shame because that headline fight, is an absolute cracker. But Derek is right, they're from America and Scotland. They're not huge ticket sellers. They certainly weren't going to sell out the O2 on their own. So, Derek has got a point, but I think he certainly made it in the wrong way, because the 2 guys that he's undermined are absolutely fantastic boxers, number 1 and number 2 in the world in their division, and they deserve more eyes on them.
Yeah. And lastly, what do you make of Fury's unlikely friendship with Wayne Rooney?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was sort of a cracking part of a long interview he did, that just sort of got buried quite low down. They're a perfect match, really, aren't they? Wayne's obviously boxed since he was a kid. By the looks of recent reports, he still likes to drink, and so does Tyson occasionally. So I think it's quite nice to hear that they ring each other up and have a laugh more than take each other seriously all the time.
If I ever turned up to a stag do and I walked in, when you get to the airport and you see everyone, they've got the matching shirts on, and in the silly hats, and I see Tyson Fury and Wayne Rooney, I'm just calling the missus and telling her I'm never coming home. Just saying, it's like, you know what, I might see you again, I might not.
Great stuff. Appreciate you coming on, Wally.
Cheers, fellas. Bye-bye.
Wally Downs Jr. there, boxing writer for The Sun. Great stuff, as always. Which actually leads us on quite nicely, because you know what we're going to be doing very, very shortly.
I think I do.
We've been teasing this for the last hour.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Go on.
Okay. Wayne Rooney's been videoed singing.
Oh, I was talking about...
what?
We'll do... Oh, sorry, no, we'll do that on another show.
Sorry, one sec, listeners. It's too early in the morning for that, mate.
Can't
do that again.
No, okay.
Remember what happened last week?
Yeah.
Don't want to go through that.
Yeah, all right.
So, anyway, what we're doing now is Wayne Rooney's been videoed doing karaoke in Washington, D.C. badly, pint in hand, quite red in the face, so we're going to be getting stuck into this and other singing footballers.
Don't go anywhere.
Love sport.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Alright, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit WEDOOH.com. We Do the smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search One You.
This is Love Sport.
Last for breakfast, me, Richard Lee and Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. That time has come. We've been waiting for it for the last hour. You've been teasing me, Patrick.
Yeah. Don't like the way you say that. I'll be honest with you. Makes me feel like I need to take a shower.
Yeah, I realised as well before the break when I'm like, don't go anywhere. It's a little bit aggressive.
Yeah. Do you want to play a game? Sound like Saw.
Yeah.
Anyway,
go.
Wayne Rooney, right? Just the gift that keeps on giving. So Wayne Rooney apparently is on his final warning with long-suffering Colleen, who's been pictured without her wedding ring recently after he was pictured with, can you guess?
I can guess.
Can you guess? That's right, a woman. And Wayne Rooney is now on his...
quickly on that, like Wayne's been pictured without his ring as well, but it's more to the fact that his fingers are so pudgy now.
It's like trying to slip it around a Cumberland sausage. Anyway, so Wayne Rooney and his rather chubby fingers he had his rather chubby fingers wrapped around a pint glass, and he was videoed in a Washington...
It looks like a shot glass these days.
It does.
Yeah.
He was videoed in a Washington DC karaoke bar singing. And he kept singing and kept singing and kept singing. He belted out Folsom Prison Blues and also Rocket Man, obviously. Now, Wayne Rooney's, like I said, on his final warning from the missus, and apparently we're hearing like, oh, you know, he's promised Colleen never to drink again. He's promised Colleen never to get pictured with anybody going into an elevator in a hotel at 4 o'clock in the morning. He's promised Colleen all sorts of things. And here he is drinking and singing karaoke in Washington, D.C., while Colleen is on the other side of the Atlantic. But we, thankfully, can hear Wayne Rooney singing. So if you've got any small children with you, shield their ears. They don't need to hear this. And if you particularly like fingernails being dragged down a chalkboard, this one's for you. Kicks in a minute.
Yeah. Any second now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's faulty in the fancy dining car. They're probably drinking coffee and smoking big cigars. Well, I know
I like the trumpet.
The trumpet's good.
I know I can't be.
Oh,
I mean the melody's good.
He's well. The thing is, I was going to say, at least he's singing all the right words. But you just can't tell when a Scouse has had a few pints.
No, I have no idea what that song was.
So apparently that was Folsom Prison Blues, but it's not the first time Wayne Rooney has been videoed singing. He also did a duet with Ed Sheeran, which Ed Sheeran is regarded as the lowest moment in his career.
Is that true?
Oh, no, it's not. But I don't think Ed Sheeran needs to say that.
No, and it was never a duet that I saw coming.
No. So Wayne Rooney obviously doesn't have the best singing voice, but it's a common initiation ceremony, Rich, isn't it? That footballers, when they join a new club, are supposed to sing a song. So I managed to compile a little list of some footballers who have been videoed singing, and all of them, it will not come as a shock to people, are better than Wayne Rooney. Shall we listen to Fraser Campbell?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
The Fresh Prince, Bel Air.
Okay, nice, good choice.
Solid choice, that.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised, on the playground is where I spent most of my days. Chilling out, maxing out, picking off good, this shit is beef all that.
I like the bit coming out.
A couple of guys, they were up to no good. Causing trouble in my neighborhood. I got in my little fight and my mom got scared. Said, you're calling your auntie in the
I like that. I think that's really good.
That's good. I'll give that a 9 out of 10. Good work, Fraser. Who else we got?
We've got John Terry as well. So John Terry, this is when he signed for Aston Villa.
Okay.
So Chelsea legend, captain, leader, legend, and part-time potential tour guide, not proven. He was in Aston Villa top, and he was, let's just listen to it. We'll let you make your own minds up.
And the land is dark, and the moon is the only light you'll see. No one won't be afraid
No, I won't be afraid.
Bit off.
Just as long as you stand by me. So darling,
Go on, sing along.
Oh, that one there, dedicated to his missus. And
Give that a 7.5.
you're giving that a 7.5 for John Terry?
Missed a few notes, but I love the passion.
Yeah.
Kind of like him as a player.
Yeah. Why not? Coming up next. Now, this is good, right?
Okay.
So
Ooh.
Tammy Abraham.
I can imagine he's got a little bit.
Chelsea. Chelsea starlet.
Yeah.
I reckon. Look, he's one day going to be very much adding to England's fantastic striking prowess under Gareth Southgate. We're just gonna hear what Tammy Abraham is belting out. It is soulful.
Let's go.
Now without holding you tight, release from my trial.
Sing it to me, Tammy.
Break
Chocolate.
down and cry. Painting my head, oh, I'll probably dead. Seeing you running around, oh, we've come to the end of the road.
Oh, incredible.
Well
Give
done,
up what
Tammy.
you're doing, Tam. You could just have two things going on at once.
Isn't it annoying that when people
So
are just
smooth.
so good at everything that they do, isn't it? He's
Yeah.
one of those people. I bet he's good at maths.
No,
actually.
Well, if
Oh,
he
might
is,
be.
no, well, he might be. If he is, you can't. I think what happens is you're given certain areas where you're an expert in. You're not given too many. But he's he's got football nailed at the moment.
But he's football
Completed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Singing. Completed
Completed
it,
it,
mate.
yeah.
Yeah. Maths. Don't know yet.
We don't know. 'Cause
We'll
we
see.
haven't tested him. Let's see if we can maybe send him a GCSE maths paper and see if he completes it for
Just
us.
sticking with a Sudoku after the game.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Tammy, no.
So if we ever get him for an interview on this show, our first question to him will just be like, "What's 14 times 17, Tammy?"
What's the square root of 84, Tammy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on, Rich.
There isn't.
Yeah, exactly. Trick question. That'll
Well
do.
played.
Oh, mind
Ooh,
blown.
mind blown.
Okay, this guy, Corey Anton, who plays for Hoffenheim in Germany. Just listen to this.
You got my head spinning. No kidding, I can't pin you down. What's going on there, beautiful mind? I'm in your magical mystery life. And I'm so dizzy. Wow.
Excellent. I feel bad for giving Fraser Campbell a 9 now because both Tammy and Mr. Hoffenheim, they're both comfortable 10s if I've given Fraser a 9.
So now we've heard the other footballers.
Yeah.
I think it's just time to revisit Wayne Rooney. So this is Wayne Rooney, videoed a couple of nights ago in a bar in Washington, D.C., where, I'm not saying he goes there often, but he's got his own personal groove in one of the seats. He's got a pint in hand. He's quite red in the face, a bit jowly. And there's let's just say, put it this way, he gets helped out by the live band. But now we've heard the kind of the liquid velvet that was the likes of Tammy Abraham's soulful singing voice. Now, here's Wayne, 36, from Liverpool! It's that trumpet gets him out of jail.
Trumpet helps him out. I mean, let's be honest, the sound quality is not doing him any favours. Let's blame the sound quality.
It's funny, isn't it? Because normally they say, oh, it sounds like it was recorded on a potato, but this one sounds like it's being sung by a potato, doesn't it? Oh, Wayne. Look, I mean, that's one way to really kind of... It does just feel to me as though, like, Kaleem's put him on these final warnings, and he just doesn't appear to care.
No.
He's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I'm on a final warning. I'm going to go drinking until 5 a.m.
No, but what it's like is a child that gets told off, and if you do that again, then you're not going to have any chocolate for a week, and then the next day he's being filled with chocolate, which is actually quite a good analogy. 'Cause anyway, but you know my point. It's like if you don't actually get punished, then of course you keep doing it over and over again, surely.
Yes, absolutely. And I've just had a voice in my ear, which is startling considering the producer's out of the room, so maybe this speaks volumes about my mental health. But I'm saying that we want to hear from Ben Foden.
Ooh, Ben Foden.
Is he here? Ben? Ben?
Here he comes, any second now. Sounds very similar to...
No way is this Ben Foden.
Wow.
Wow. So, Rich,
Yeah, well, no, we're not going after that. You
So,
know that, right?
Rich.
Yes, Patrick, just to clarify,
So
before
you
you say your next
sing,
sentence, before you say your next sentence,
Bring his mic down.
we are
Bring his
not,
mic down.
Don't do anything with my mic.
So, Rich,
Yes.
you obviously have sung a few
I'm not
football
going after them
initiations at
Foden.
times. Okay, well, what do you
Let's
want?
go- I feel like we need to have a little bit of Wayne Rooney again, and then maybe we can. Just
5 seconds of Wayne
5
Rooney.
seconds of Wayne, just to get the expectation levels very low.
Yep. Just 5 seconds of Wazza. 5 seconds of Wazza, which actually...
Oh, wow. I feel like more confident again now.
Trumpet.
Here we go.
Okay, that's enough of that. Rich, what's your football initiation song?
Mine was Build Me Up Buttercup.
Okay.
Are we ready?
Yeah. Go on, Rich.
You're going after me though, right?
Yeah, why not?
I'll do it if you do it.
Okay, yeah, fine.
All right, sweet. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Why do you build me up?
Yes.
Buttercup, baby, just to let me down. Mess me around, and then worst of all, you never call, baby, when you say you will.
Oh, hello.
But I love you still. I need you. More than anyone, darling. You know that I have from the start.
Yes,
So build me
Ricky.
up. Buttercup, don't break my heart.
Oh my goodness me,
There
that
we
was
go.
sensational, Rich. Good
Boom.
lad.
Right, your turn.
No, I can't sing. Right, okay,
Whoa,
still to come. We've got loads of stuff for you here on Love Sport Breakfast.
Producer Kieran, need your help
We've
here.
got loads of stuff coming up here on Love Sport Breakfast. The listeners don't
Wow.
need this. It's already bad enough.
Do you know what? The 4 agreements, great book. Number 1 of the agreements is integrity with word. Integrity with your word, Mr. Christys. How dare you?
Absolutely, no, I embarrassed myself enough already. I don't need to do that kind of stuff. Look, coming up,
Yes.
we're still going to be talking about the issues with Anthony Joshua and with his concussion. Is he okay? Should he have carried on fighting? His trainer knew that he had concussion. Should that have happened? Has he done any lasting damage? Gareth Southgate is warning his England players that they're basically definitely going to get racially abused in Bulgaria when they play there. And still to come, we've got Sean Derry, Crystal Palace Academy professional development coach. Interesting time to get him as well, because Wilfried Zaha, of course, is looking to leave his agent because he couldn't move away from Palace. We'll have a chat with him. We're talking about Michael Schumacher.
Yep.
Michael Schumacher's had a groundbreaking stem cell operation, and we've got UK Stem Cell Foundation Professor Brendan Noble. What a name that is, by the way, Professor Brendan Noble. So he's going to be on just talking about that. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about the cricket as well, because the Ashes gets back underway today.
And, of course, we're going to be talking some current affairs. Did Boris lie to the Queen and fat kids? That's going to be coming up shortly. And, of course, Patrick Christys will be singing I Believe I Can Fly by R. Kelly. 17 minutes to 8.
I believe in traditional marriage. I've had 3 of them.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
Stop paying too much for your energy bills. Brian saved money on his at spokesmansaid.com. Can you?
I'm Brian from Swaddling Coat, South Derbyshire, and I saved about £400 on my energy bill with a Spokesman Said. The iSpokesman Said website was very easy to use, and the money I saved I put towards a holiday.
Compare home energy quotes from the UK's biggest suppliers in just a matter of minutes with spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work that way. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle, or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
This is Love Sport.
Love for Breakfast, me, Richard Lee and Patrick Christys. Patrick, question for you. Did Boris lie to the Queen and fat kids?
So basically, Boris Johnson. These are the 2 current affairs topics that we're going to be doing right now, because it's not all sport here on Love Sport. We do delve into the world.
We sing songs
of
as
hard news. Yeah, exactly. So Boris Johnson, as people may know, and probably should know, has decided to prorogue/suspend Parliament for a little bit. Now, the fact is that in order to do this, he has to get royal assent. So Boris sent Jacob Rees-Mogg, who is the bloke who sleeps in double-breasted pyjamas. He's that posh.
Nice.
And to essentially convince the Queen that this was all thoroughly above board, thoroughly legal, nothing to see here, we can suspend Parliament. So anyway, a court yesterday ruled that actually that's not okay. So there is this question now as to whether or not Boris Johnson has intentionally lied to the Queen and pulled the wool over Madge's eyes in order to get what he wants. But my take on it is this: how do people are making out that this has been a particularly difficult task for Boris? Okay, now I'm not sure that this is that difficult. The Queen is 93 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just tell her anything, couldn't you?
But it reminds me of, and this actually happened, I heard about this yesterday, that a psychic in America has been sued for 1.3 million pounds. No, in fact, sorry, charged a family 1.3 million pounds to remove a curse.
No.
No. Yes. Just kind of reminds me of that, you know? So basically befriended this family, and they agreed a price of 1.3 million pounds, and this psychic, whatever they do, removed the curse for 1.3 million
Well, he claimed to, but they want the money back now because Trump's still president. But I've just got this idea that Boris has gone, yeah, Jacob, I've got a job for you. Are you all right to just go around to Big Lizzie's and just tell her that we need to prorogue Parliament? Well, it's not really legal, Boris. She's 93 ruddy years old, Jacob. Just tell her anything. Just do it. Just get it over. I just want it done. And
tell her she's double glazing at the same time.
It's
going to be very cold this winter.
The Queen's now got a massive conservatory at Balmoral that she's just never needed. There's someone there tarmacking the drive.
The roof's being redone. I'm sure they only did it last year.
Oh, the grouting. I don't know, you just see Jacob Rees-Mogg just going round like with a stick, just poking bits of Balmoral going, I don't know who's done this, but this is, that's shoddy workmanship.
Just tutting. You're going to have issues with that in the winter.
No.
Going to have issues.
Oh, no. He gets like a ring binder out and just flicking through it. Well, look, option one. Yeah. It's the cheap option. I wouldn't recommend this. at all because, look, it's up to you. I don't know what your financial situation is, but I've got your best interests at heart. But I wouldn't go for this, right? Between you and me, let me tell you something. Let me let you in on a secret, right? A little secret of the trade, right? This is not what you want to go for. What you want to go for is flicks over the pages right to the end. This one here, right? This one will last a lifetime. It'll set your grandkids up for life. Set your grandkids up for life. And the resale value, honestly, I've never had a problem with this. It's like the Titanic. No, it's not like the Titanic. It's like the Costa Concordia. No, it's not. Is it? Like a just another sturdy, like a tank. This is as solid as a tank, man.
Actually, and speaking of your tank, I think you need 4 new tyres. And is that the boiler I can hear? Is that the boiler? Yeah, I think you might need a new one of them as well.
Charles comes in, just tries to shoo him away.
Oh dear.
Gosh.
Good old Boris. What about the fat kids? Well, look, this is what I've got on my sheet. It just says fat kids. Now, I don't know what this means, but it obviously means something to you.
Yes, I had a bet on with producer Kieran that I couldn't get you to repeatedly say the word fat kids on air. No, I didn't really. So this is quite a shocking story, even more shocking than the idea of Jacob Rees-Mogg acting as a high-pressure double glazing salesman to the Queen, which is that 40% of primary school children, by the time they leave primary school, by 2024, will be clinically obese. Ooh. 40%, 40%. Wow. So fat kids is a massive issue facing this country. Now, this is just bizarre for me that, it's almost like we've just forgotten that Jamie Oliver ever ruined Turkey Twizzlers, isn't it? This is seriously though is an issue, but it stems for me from a few bits and bobs. I'd be keen to get the listeners' take on this because what I'm about to say might be a bit mean, which is that if you are no longer allowed to have just adverts on, in public places like obesity can cause cancer, and you start employing a lot of models for like swimwear brands that are like obese and things like that, then what kind of message does that send out to kids? Like, it's all very well and good as like saying, smoking's bad for you, excessive drinking, but then we go, here, look, here's a really fat person and this is brilliant.
Well, this is it. I understand the idea that of course it's okay to be whatever shape you are.
Yeah.
I get that, but at the same time we need to promote healthy living, because it's not necessarily a look. It's not even about the look. It's about everything, actually, because I'll always say this, it's the bedrock of everything. If you're eating well and you're living well, then of course emotionally you're going to be in check, you're going to be that much more productive, etc., etc. So it's got to be the start. So I think you're right, we've got to be careful we don't go too far the other way, where it's okay to be fat, because it's not.
Well, this is where we are now, I think. When you see adverts, so this is the issue for me, right? We have a lot of things called, body shaming, right? Now, I look, anyone who is just overtly shamed for the shape of the body, like, absolutely, that's not okay, right? I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, if you are not allowed to have an advert that includes somebody who's like got a rippling six pack, because essentially fat people see that and they feel sad, well, shouldn't they? Isn't that okay? Like, shouldn't they? Isn't so? Like, for example, look, mate, right? I was 3 stone heavier than I am now, which, as anyone can imagine, I have my own orbit. All right, I was on the seafood diet. See the food, eat it.
Nice.
Right, yeah, one of the old ones. And the fact is that I went to a beach with my girlfriend, and I had a body like a punch lasagna.
Yeah,
it was horrific.
Yeah,
and it was the shame, the personal shame that I felt, that as I was getting out of the water, it looked like I was about to get harpooned because people thought it was a whale.
Yeah,
and it was that prompted me to start running and to lose weight. Now, as anyone on our YouTube channel can see, I'm not exactly in peak physical condition, but I no longer have gout, which is lovely. And it was only because of that shame that I made that change, and I've probably added at least 65 seconds to my life now.
Yeah.
So I don't think shame is bad.
Okay. So I suppose this is, now I'm always looking at the counter argument. Some people, I appreciate as well, everyone's got different metabolisms, which is so true. And by the way, I'm realising that more and more. The older I'm getting, the harder it is now to stay in decent shape. I do appreciate that. And of course, certain people have less time than others. If you work in X amount of jobs, of course, it's very difficult. However, this then comes back to your eating habits. I think, again, you might not have the perfect body shape, but if your eating habits are good, and we all know intuitively what's good for us. I don't care as much as you'll see what was it? I think it was the crispy, crunchy nut crispy, whatever they were, bars where it was like 90% fat free. That was their marketing slogan, which isn't positive. It's not necessarily saying it's good for you, but of course that seems like a positive statement that's put on a bar. So it's this kind of stuff that will reel people in. But I think it's just the understanding that intuitively you know what's good for you. You don't need someone to tell you that it's good or bad. So it is just making sure the majority of what you eat is going to fuel your body. It's good nutrition for your body.
But I think it's parents. Like, I think it's parents' fault. Like, you need to have the guts, actually, for want of a better phrase, to go, right, listen, Timmy, you are a porker. You are a pork pie. When you cut you open, you look like a Scotch egg that's gone off. Right? Stop shoving your face full of Kit Kats and all that. I had a mate who, when he was younger, his parents had to have a word with him, and he's ripped now, by the way. He's an absolute beast. But he got his food groups all wrong, and he thought that bread was good for you. So when he'd eat a Kit Kat, he'd wrap it in bread.
But no, you joke about that. My brother did the same thing.
No.
Yeah,
my brother that fought Tyson Fury.
Yeah. He was 18 stone when he was 12. So
no.
Yeah, he was a big lad. And basically, this is where, like, I give my mum and dad a bit of stick for this, because I was the only thin one, and I had 3 younger brothers that were all massively obese. Now, the reason being was that we had the shop Costco. Have you heard of Costco?
I've lived it, mate.
Right, so you don't buy 1 Mars bar, you buy 48. So we had our own little tuck shop at home. So we would just spend the day coming back from school. We'd then go into our own little tuck shop. I'd have a Snickers, a Mars or whatever, and I'd play computer games all night. Anyway, I was obviously playing football at the same time, so I managed to stay in reasonable shape. My brothers, on the other hand, didn't do a lot other than play computer games, so they got reasonably large.
Reasonably large, mate. 18 stone at 12 years old.
Yeah, and when he was going to school having a Skips and Kit Kat sandwich, that was when I think he overstepped the mark. Anyway, moving on nicely from that to weather and travel.
Hey,
Kieran.
Hello.
Hello.
I have my own thoughts on the whole fat kids issue, and I think it might just be because parents are having to work long hours now, and the comfortable option is to go into Tesco Metro, pick up a ready meal. There's no time to cook, right? There's no time to cook well, I don't think. If you have a busy family with young kids, you're picking them up from school, you've got work as well, etc. There's not enough time in the day, and I think that's the real issue behind why parents might be seen as not bothered to cook well for their family.
I agree. I agree.
Is that
no,
an
I do
excuse
agree.
though,
No,
is
'cause
it?
I tried to do a Jamie Oliver's 30-minute meal, and it took me an hour and 45 minutes.
Jamie Oliver's book. Look this up, people. Jamie Oliver's book of hangover recipes included lobster thermidor.
Ah,
right. Unless you've got a butler, right? That ain't happening, mate. That ain't happening when I've had 16 pints.
Yeah.
No, but let's go to weather and travel because, as you know, I get very excited before the start of a test match.
Ah, yeah. How we
checking
looking?
the weather, and it's doubly important to me this week because Sunday I am going.
Oh.
So I've been constantly looking at the weather. I've not stopped. So normally I'm on the BBC weather account, but this week I'm taking it seriously. I'm on the Met Office.
Oh.
I've typed the Oval Surrey CCC into the Met Office, and today is sunny. All right, changing to cloudy by lunchtime.
That's fine.
But with a less than 5% chance of precipitation.
Good.
So that's
Good news.
very promising. 22 degrees top temperature. Friday, sunny, 20 degrees. Less than 5% chance of precipitation. Saturday, 22 degrees, less than 5% chance of
Amazing.
precipitation. Sunday, the day I'm going, 24 degrees.
It's going to be
sunny.
delightful.
Yeah, less than 5% chance.
You're going to come in looking like Jamie Oliver's lobster thermidor.
I certainly am.
The good news is
I can't wait.
We're gonna get a result then from this match, you would think. Which I mean, look, if we do win this test match as well, I mean, effectively we have drawn the Ashes. Yeah, they've retained it, whatever, that's fine. But we've drawn it, which isn't horrendous.
No, especially as Australia have played by far the better. It's like a bit of a smash and grab in football, really. I think other than Ben Stokes' iconic innings at Headingley, we would be 3-0 down at this stage rather than 2-1. So, I think it's papering over the cracks a little bit. But, of course, this is Trevor Bayliss' last game. So it's going to be a new era come November when we play New Zealand, in New Zealand, and looking forward to that. But let's go on to the London weather for today. It's a dry start with some sunny interludes. Through the day, cloud will tend to build with the chance of the odd spot of rain, but not likely. Feeling warm and rather humid with top temperatures of 24 degrees. And on the tube, we have minor delays on the Central Line, eastbound only, whilst they fix a signal failure at Mile End. Good service, all over the lines.
Thank you, Kieran.
Fantastic, great stuff. I see there's been some dog surfing. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, at some
dog
point.
surfing's a thing now, apparently.
It is indeed. 3 minutes to 8.
This is Love Sport.
Can you save money on your car insurance? Chris did with a little help from a spokesmansaid.com. Getting real people, real savings.
I'm Chris from Leicestershire, a truck driver. I went on a spokesman's set, which was very straightforward and easy to use for an old git like myself, and saved over £300 on my car insurance.
Find quotes from over 100 leading insurance providers at a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Have you been injured in a road traffic accident, an accident at work, or an accident anywhere? It's your right to claim. You could be entitled to thousands of pounds in compensation. Harris Fowler are specialist personal injury solicitors with a 96.9% success rate, offering no win, no fee. Call 0800 213 214 to find out if you have a claim. 0800 213 214. Harris Fowler, the personal injury solicitors. Win rate based on cases issued and finished between the 1st of January and the 31st of December 2017.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Alright, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Last Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10. Lots to come, isn't there, Patrick? We've got lots of guests, actually, in the next hour. We're going to be talking to Sean Derry, Crystal Palace Academy professional development coach. Of course, big career as a pro himself.
Yeah, big career as a pro himself. We do want to talk about Palace's, essentially, their conveyor belt of talent, but also clearly Wilfred Zaha today saying he wants to split from his agent because he couldn't move him out of Crystal Palace, so we'll get stuck into that.
We will do, indeed. We'll be speaking to Professor Brendan Noble.
Great
You've
name.
already, you really enjoy his name. If you've got the surname Noble, it gives you a great chance, doesn't
I'd like
it?
to be a jester. Really confuse people. Anyway, so Professor Brendan Noble's on from the UK Stem Cell Foundation, and this is to get the inside track on what's going on with Michael Schumacher, who of course had groundbreaking stem cell surgery. Clearly suffered a life-threatening skiing accident where he banged his head, not been seen in public since. Apparently the operation was a success. We'll just get the lowdown on that.
Great stuff. We'll also be talking a bit of cricket. Of course, Roy and Overton have both been dropped for Sam Curran and Wokes. We'll be getting to a bit of detail on that too, so do stay tuned. As always, get in touch on WhatsApp 0208 70 20 558, on the socials at Love Sport Radio, or tune in on YouTube. Watch us there, why not? Time is 8 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 8, days of delays at ports, rising electricity prices and problems getting medicines have all been flagged by the government as possible outcomes of a no-deal Brexit. Ministers have been forced by MPs to publish their planning documents. They're stressing they're the worst-case scenarios and the papers are now out of date. But the Lib Dems Brexit spokesperson Tom Brake doesn't think much will have changed.
Yes, it's possible they've done some additional work since the 2nd of August, but given the scale of the problems identified in the document, I do doubt whether they've made much progress at all.
Babcock in Dunfermline has just been revealed as the government's preferred bidder to build 5 new Royal Navy warships. The contract is for the Type 31 General Purpose Frigate programme, which comes in at about £250 million per ship. A man's being questioned on suspicion of murder following the death of a baby boy who was pulled from the River Irwell in Greater Manchester. Police want to hear from anyone who saw what happened in Radcliffe yesterday afternoon. The family of a British-Australian woman who's in jail in Iran say they hope she'll be able to return home soon. Jolie King and her Australian boyfriend Mark Firkin were arrested 10 weeks ago. They had allegedly been flying a drone without a licence. Australia's Foreign Minister Marise Payne says following conversations with officials, she doesn't think it's to do with current political tensions.
We have no reason to think that these arrests are connected to international concern over Iran's nuclear program, United Nations sanctions or sanctions enforcement, or maritime security and the safety of civilian shipping.
The John Lewis Partnership has posted pre-tax losses of just under £26 million for the 6 months to July. Over the same period last year, the owner of the department store and Waitrose made $800,000. And England Test cricket captain Joe Root says there's still plenty to play for in today's final Ashes Test. That's despite Australia being guaranteed to retain the urn as they have a 2-1 series lead. That's the latest. I'm Will Rowe.
Love Sport. Confucius once said, life is simple, but we insist on making it complicated. We're no philosophers, but at SEAT we believe choosing your next car should be simple too. So we're offering the Ibiza FR for £199 a month, including 17-inch alloy wheels, full LED headlights and your choice of colour at no extra cost. Why make life more complicated? Because them, us, SEAT.
£597 initial rental price based on FR 1 litre MPI 48-month contract hire, 18s plus subject to status, not in conjunction with any other offers. Damage charges may apply. No ownership. SEAT Financial Services.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Morning, Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee and Patrick Christys are here with you until 10 a.m. Let's go through the headlines this morning. Joe Root will lead England trying to avoid a second successive Ashes defeat under his leadership when the 5th and final test starts at the Oval this morning. It will be head coach Trevor Bayliss' last match in charge after 4 years at the helm. Jason Roy and Craig Overton have been dropped for all-rounders Sam Curran and Chris Wokes. Gareth Southgate fears England players will be racially abused in Bulgaria next month. The Bulgaria fan was kicked out of Wembley on Saturday after alleged racist abuse directed at Raheem Sterling, and UEFA fined Bulgaria just under £35,000 in 2011 when Ashley Young, Ashley Cole and Theo Walcott suffered abuse in a Euro 2012 qualifier. Anthony Joshua's trainer admitted he knew AJ was concussed during his defeat to Andy Ruiz Jr. Rob McCracken's revelation prompted a furious reaction from brain injury experts who claimed Joshua could have died because the corner man did not throw in the towel. And Wilfried Zaha has told his agent he wants to terminate their contract after failing to secure a move away from Crystal Palace. Will Salthouse has a close relationship with one of the club's chairman, Steve Parish, and has reportedly been informed of Zaha's desire to end their relationship in writing. This is Lost for Breakfast with myself, Richard Lee, and Patrick Christys. I realise that I keep saying Cornerman as if it's a surname, you know, like Phil Cornerman.
A couple of things I've noticed there. First and foremost, we have got a live poll running at Love Sport Radio on our Twitter account, which is just on what you touched on there about the fact that England players are being warned that they're basically definitely going to face racial abuse when they play Bulgaria next month. Now, we just want to know your opinions on this. We've got three options there. Should England, A, not play at all if you know it's going to happen, B, walk off when it happens, or if, it's probably when over there unfortunately, or C, carry on and just try and win the game? The results that we've got so far on that are quite interesting. 44% of people say that they should walk off if they hear any kind of abuse. 17% say that they should refuse to travel. And 39% here are saying that they should carry on and win the game. So get voting on that. It is. The other thing I've noticed, Rich, just before we get Sean Derry, Crystal Palace Academy professional development coach, on the line, got a lot to get stuck into with him there. Just before we do that, I've realised that when we go to a break, because we've got live on YouTube now, if anyone tunes in when we're on a break, it looks like we're not here. Because we go to the toilet, like we'll have a chat outside, we'll do whatever. So I think we need to provide some entertainment during the breaks.
Okay.
So I think, you know, maybe people can WhatsApp in 0208 70 20 558. What entertainment should we lay on for you during the breaks? I'm going to lay it out right now. Cabaret.
There you go. Let us know your thoughts. 0208 70 20 558. Right, we've got a very special guest on the line. Of course, certainly in the last few days, England have shown that their youth system seems to be working. So many players coming through. Such a young squad that we've now got, and somebody that knows all about the youth system in the UK. Sean Derry, Crystal Palace Academy professional development coach, is on the line. Morning, Sean.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Morning. Yeah, we're well. Hope you're well too. I want to get stuck in a bit on England's youth, I guess, at the moment. Obviously, you're doing some great work now with Crystal Palace. In fact, first and foremost, because you made the switch, of course, from you've been manager of a couple of clubs to now working with the development lads at Crystal Palace. What made you make the switch, and how are you finding working with the younger players?
Well, absolutely. Obviously, coming from a senior background and having left playing football at 35, going straight into management, this is a different role for me as well. But it is a role that I'm kind of aware of, obviously, because at Notts County and at Cambridge, the whole emphasis was trying to promote your own players into the system. And I think that's where we've got with England. Obviously, you look at the young players that we've got at this moment in time, a number of them have come right from the system, all the way from the 16s into the 17s and 19s. Gareth had them at 21, and now we're really starting to reap the rewards, which is brilliant.
So what have England changed? What have we done differently that has allowed us to produce this conveyor belt of absolutely world-class young talent?
Well, I think first and foremost, to have a training venue like St George's Park is so impressive. When every time that I go up there, you see an improvement all the time. And I think when you've got that facility available to all the coaches, and they can all meet on the CPDs where they all meet and they can discuss different levels of coaching and the different age groups, that's a wonderful facility. And every young player should aspire to be the best they possibly can when they're in that environment.
Yeah, well, look, absolutely, 100%. And you look at the likes of the way that Raheem Sterling has now turned himself into, look, he's, in my money, probably a future Ballon d'Or winner, certainly if he keeps going the way that he is. But also, frankly, an upstanding human being, the way that he's dealt with a lot of the racial issues as well. It does look as though we're not just building footballers, but we're building characters as well now. Is that fair to say?
I think you've nailed it. When you think about, just the horrendous abuse that Raheem's had, and not just him, loads of other players as well, which is absolutely horrendous. But what a role model! What an absolute role model he is, and he's just not only just grown as a man off the pitch, but on the pitch he's just become sensational. He really has. I mean, whether or not he's going to be a Ballon d'Or, because them two are still incredible, but he has got time, but what he has got, he's got ridiculous amounts of pace. And when he breaks through them lines, he's now got a final ball, and that's come from coaching. And obviously, you go back to the facilities and the levels of these coaches that they're working with. I mean, Raheem's come through the system, obviously early at QPR, and then he's gone into Liverpool and been coached properly there. And to go and work with Pep Guardiola must be amazing every day for him.
Oh, can you imagine? I mean, I'd actually pay to do that. I mean, well, I'd have to, because he wouldn't pick me. But there we are. But yeah, look, I think it's clearly plain for everyone to see that the current youth approach at an England level is working. But we're seeing now more top clubs do it as well. So look, Palace obviously have a very, very proud history of bringing through some unbelievable talent there. Chelsea, look, okay, their hands have been tied somewhat with this transfer ban, but you've got the likes of Tammy Abraham, your Mason Mounts coming through. But Arsene Wenger's been speaking about what's going on at Manchester United at the moment and saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's youth-first approach, it's that classic you won't win anything with kids. He's saying that they don't necessarily lack that level of experience and maturity to actually win something. Do you believe in that, or Arsene Wenger said?
Well, back in '92, obviously seen a football club up in Manchester that did win things with young players, and that's that was one of the most golden generation up in Manchester that you'll ever see. And I think Man United are probably at that transitional period where they are trying to still be the biggest club, because they are a monster football club, but they need to bring some players through as well, because I think all clubs do now. You put so much money into these academies that you want to reap the rewards for them.
Obviously, at the moment, Zaha's quite big news. Certainly today, I know that there's been a couple of headlines in regards to him and his agency situation. And I want to touch a bit on, of course, Palace over the years have been very, very successful. A lot of the players they're bringing through, and of course, Wan-Bissaka being a great example, making a lot of money on the likes of Wan-Bissaka, and potentially Zaha might be the next, although of course Palace very, very keen to keep him. Just a quick word on him at the moment. How's he been? Obviously, it's been quite an eventful summer for him. From his point of view, I guess there's not a lot he can do with the press. They're going to say what they say. Has he been quite good in terms of keeping his focus?
Absolutely. He's a professional, isn't he? He's an unbelievable player. Could go and play for any of the top four, in my opinion. And I'm sure, Wilfred would think that himself. But very much is a Crystal Palace player, and he's been absolutely brilliant since all this speculation's been going around. And I think footballers nowadays, of course, there's certain situations what you've got to deal with. But when you go out onto that training pitch, when you go out onto the pitch, you're a footballer, and you want to be the best you possibly can, and Wilfred does that for us every week.
Yeah, and that comes across in the level of his performance. I think Rich has touched on it there, which is something that Raheem Sterling got so right in the last year or so was the PR side of things, and and clearly he's overcome a lot in the past with negative press and stuff like that as well. But Zaha, it just seems a bit unfortunate that it seems to be as soon as you read a headline about him, it's almost followed up by a negative, and that's not his fault. He does his talking on the pitch, doesn't he? But I'm just keen to get your take, because look, you obviously as Crystal Palace Academy professional development coach, has what you're looking for in a young player changed in recent years? Is it now a lot more kind of overt physicality and physical attributes, or just talk to me about that? Is it more kind of raw statistics now, as opposed to maybe just having a good feel for a player in the past?
Well, obviously you need a feel for a player. Every coach and recruiter needs to feel that. Otherwise, you shouldn't be anywhere near the game. But at the same time, you've got so many things behind the scenes that people probably don't see when it comes to that 90 minutes on a Saturday when you watch a young player. For us, obviously, Crystal Palace have developed players religiously over the years, and we've been able to get them on the first team. Yeah. Now, we know just how strong and physical Premier League football is now, so you need a physical attribute to play at that level. But I think what we're trying to look at as well is to develop the technical aspects as well, and the tactical aspects of a young player. And that's where, we've got a new head of coaching in Dean Wilkins, and obviously I've just arrived at the football club, so there's little movements that have took place at this football club in recent weeks where you're not going to reap the rewards in 6 months. It's going to be a long time. You don't look at a player at 19 and expect them to just be in the team at 20 years old. You look at players at like 12, 13, 14 as they're coming through the ranks, and how can you develop them young players? And that's the challenge for us.
Yeah, and there's so much good young English talent to choose from. You've got the likes of Jadon Sancho, of course, and I mean, we mentioned a few other names this show already. Mason Mount, your Tammy Abrahams. Has anyone, or does anyone, stand out for you in terms of a real, by far and away, in your opinion, this is probably the best kind of, 18, 19-year-old that this country has at the moment? If you had to put your finger on a particular player, is there anyone that jumps out to you?
Well, the one person for me, and it's only because I've seen him at first hand, it would be Phil Foden. You know, I'm intrigued to find what kind of pathway he gets, not just at Manchester City, but obviously at England as well. Every time I've seen him pull on the shirt for Man City, he's excited us. You know, he seems to be one of them players that just fits into that system just seamlessly. So obviously, you know, David Silva's going to be leaving Manchester City at the end of the season, and you just think, is that slot going to be his? I really hope it is, because he's a top player.
Yeah, no, great stuff. I mean, just touch on one more question on Phil Foden. We talk a lot about the academies that are in place, and I guess with Man City, for instance, of course, they've got this phenomenal academy that's in place. Is it going to make it more difficult for some of the smaller clubs? Because at the moment, Premier League clubs are putting these fantastic academies in place, a great environment for a young player to come learn their trade. So then when it comes to maybe Championship, certainly League One, League Two clubs that have their youth systems, is it going to become harder and harder for them to produce players when the likes of City, obviously you guys, the likes of Chelsea as well being a good example, are producing such good youngsters?
Listen, it's difficult anyway to produce young players. Of course it is. You know, when you think about when they start on the journey at 8, 9 years old, and you think about how many people get cut, and it's such a ruthless industry anyway. So some would say it's a horrible business, but there's always footballers available. There's always young people who want to play this game. It's a brilliant game. And when you think, I mean, looking back at Notts County and at Cambridge, to see the young players coming through there, that was great as well. I mean, it is difficult because the biggest, the Man Uniteds, the Man Cities, the Chelseas, the Tottenham, they'll always cherry pick, won't they? Because that's what, you know, that's what they can do. But underneath that is still opportunities for the players. I mean, I didn't come through a top Premier League or the old Division 1 route. I came from a League 2 route and made my way up in a different place, you know, kind of going through the clubs, going around the clubs. And it's not all about just starting at a Manchester United or a Man City and playing for one of them clubs. United 2 professional football clubs, and you might be a late developer, and you might find your way in a different area. So you've got to produce your players all the time.
Yeah, no, you speak a lot of sense. Great stuff, Sean. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Great stuff. You too. That's Sean Derry there, Crystal Palace Academy professional development coach.
What I've heard there, Rich, is that there's still hope for me.
You think there's still time?
Late developer, that's a phrase that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
You know, it's never too late.
Yeah.
I think he might have made that up though. And also I think I heard him say we want to sign you, Patrick.
Yeah.
So
yeah, okay,
we'll play it back in a bit and we'll see.
Patrick, like I say, it's never over until the fat lady sings.
Okay.
Or Wayne Rooney sings.
Yeah.
You know, at that point it's definitely
it's
over.
God, Wayne Rooney just reminds me of the type of guy, you know, at like the back end of a house party when someone gets the guitar out and you go, right, see you in a bit. Off we go. Bye now. Bye-bye.
That's me. I'm off. 18 minutes past 8.
If it ain't broke, break it.
Love sports.
When looking for the best possible deal for his car insurance, Jim went on a spokesmansaid.com and saved hundreds.
I'm Jim. I'm a radio presenter based in Glasgow. I couldn't believe how expensive the car insurance for our Citroen C4 Picasso was going to be from my existing insurer. I went on a Spokesman Said and saved an incredible £600. Just amazing.
Find quotes from over 100 leading insurance providers at a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit WEDOOH.com. We Do the smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard E. Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Patrick, we've got a very special guest now, don't we?
Yes, we do indeed. So Professor Brendan Noble of the UK Stem Cell Foundation is going to be on the line very, very shortly. And this is because Michael Schumacher, of course, we will have all seen in the press recently, has just undergone quite a high-profile stem cell operation, or procedure, I should really say. Now, I'll just give a bit of context here. Michael Schumacher, of course, probably the greatest Formula 1 driver of all time. He was really, really into his skiing as well, and was skiing with his son, who is now a Formula 2 driver, who basically, we were skiing with him, he was in Meribel, and he had a fall, he hit his head on a rock, it split his helmet, and he got several blood clots on the brain. Now some of those blood clots they were able to remove, others, as far as from what I can read anyway, they were too deep rooted. Anyway, he's not been seen since. He's been getting a lot of treatment clearly at his home, I believe in Geneva. And anyway, he was seen to be going for this stem cell procedure in France at a specialist clinic. Now, the reports that are coming out after this is that he's conscious. Look, we don't know the specifics at all of his state. The family clearly, and as is their right, are keeping their cards very, very close to their chest. It goes without saying that we wish him all the best, but the stem cell procedure in itself is something that seems to have piqued quite a lot of interest, and frankly, look, I don't quite understand exactly how it works and what it could mean and what it could potentially mean, I suppose, for Michael Schumacher. And there's a chap on the line now who certainly does know a lot more about just the specifics of stem cell procedures, and it's Professor Brendan Noble of the UK Stem Cell Foundation. Thanks very much for joining us today, Professor Brendan Noble. Look, just talk to me a little bit about what kind of stem cell procedures are, because from what I can gather, it almost seems like a little bit like magic, to be honest with you.
Well, it's certainly not magic, and also I think the most important thing is it's not one thing. You know, there isn't a stem cell procedure. There's stem cells, and they can be used for many, many different purposes. So I'll explain what a stem cell is broadly. So these cells actually sit in our body, waiting for trouble to happen, really. They're very primitive cells, and I liken them a bit to a child who could become pretty much anything. They could become a lawyer or a doctor or a radio presenter if they're very clever, obviously.
Yeah, okay.
And,
or out of options.
Or out of options. But they haven't decided which way to go yet, and they can be encouraged down a route. A stem cell's a bit like that, so it can form pretty much any cell in our body, and also it can divide and divide and divide, and so you can get buckets of them. And so if you put those two features together, it can become pretty much any bit of the body, and you can produce loads of it. You can see why people are very excited about what you might do with these cells in terms of medicine. So there's not one stem cell treatment, there are many. And you can use them, for example, you could use them to replace a bit of the body that's damaged or been sick, and the cells there are upset. You could replace those directly, and that is one way. Or they've also got some really interesting characteristics. They pump out some certain chemicals that will damp down the immune system if you've got trouble with immune system in your body, like in Crohn's disease or arthritis or some injury and so on and so forth. So they've got a lot of potential to do a lot of very, very different things. They're not one thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it sounds fascinating, and again, I can't stress enough, nobody knows, apart from, I imagine, a very select group of people, the specifics of the Michael Schumacher incident and his health, and I don't want us to just start wildly speculating, because it's not really fair or right, but we do know that he clearly had a very severe brain injury, and in the context of severe brain injuries, what can stem cells potentially do in that case?
Well, at the moment, that would be very unclear. There are no, what we say, sort of approved, licensed therapies for, in particular, brain injury. One area, which is stroke, which of course is brain damage. There is a company that's moving quite fast towards having a therapy in that area, but there's nothing actually necessarily there at the moment. I think in this case, and you're saying let's not speculate, it's absolutely right, we can't. We've got very, very little information, but we do know that the surgeon involved is actually a heart and vascular surgeon. And so, you know what, it might not be, I'm just putting it out there, it might not be actually related to brain injury directly. It might be that there's a sort of secondary effect in the body somewhere else, and that they're trying to use these cells to combat that.
Well, I just think that the basics of this are absolutely fascinating. But just moving forward, I suppose it is 5 years now. It doesn't seem like 5 years ago, does it? Since this incident where Michael Schumacher was skiing with his son, now a Formula 2 driver, of course, in Maribel, hit his head on a rock, and the rest, as we know, is history. But in that 5 years since Schumacher's accident, how has stem cell treatment developed and improved?
Yeah, actually, in that 5 years, it's been pretty wild. It's been bumping around as a story, if you like, this stem cell thing, for a long, long time. And the potential is there, as I say, for heart, spinal cord, MS, cancer, cartilage, all sorts of stuff. So all the potential is there. But in the last sort of 2 years, there's been some really major breakthroughs and steps forward. So where we were, a lot of it was potential. Some of it is actually becoming reality now. On average, it takes about 12 years to make any drug come to the clinic. It takes a long time and buckets of money. It's just the same with stem cells. So it's taken about that sort of time. And in the last 2 years, there's been two major events. One with MS, a study that showed that you could really stop that recurring in a certain group of patients. And that has been a real step forward and in the clinic. And the other, it's not directly stem cells, but it's cell therapies. So using cells in this way is cancer. And there's been a therapy called CAR T-cell that's actually entered the NHS now. It's a big thing. Everything else, pretty much everything else, is still in the research and development phase. But in the last 2 years, there's been this big steps forward. And that's made everyone much more confident that we could use these in things like sports injury, things like really serious conditions, eye conditions, and so on.
So is there the potential for, let's just say, sports stars whose career is blighted by repetitive injuries, and one injury often can kickstart another. You change your posture, things happen, etc., etc. So is there the potential that possibly in, I don't know, a few years' time, maybe a decade or so, that fairly regularly players who have a repetitive injury or a very serious injury that could be career-ending could end up getting stem cell I don't know what procedures that there are, and that actually could result in them prolonging their career or frankly having a career?
Well, you know what? Yes, absolutely. So if we think about with stem cells, the thing is, because you're putting the cells in the body and they're repairing that bit of the body, if we get it right, we're not going to be treating again and again.
Yeah.
You get it sorted and it's cured it.
It's amazing.
And actually, I'm with the UK Stem Cell Foundation, but I'm also a professor at the University of Westminster in London. And my work is on cartilage damage and musculoskeletal damage. And in the sports world, absolutely, that is one of our targets, that we could repair people that are going to have, as you say, long-term, ongoing, sort of suboptimal performance because of their damage.
Well, so just talking of suboptimal performance due to damage, I'm sat opposite Richard Lee, who of course was a Premier League footballer for quite some time. Rich, are you all right to just run Professor Brendan Noble very quickly through some of the injuries you've had?
I'll do it very quickly. So ruptured supraspinatus in my right shoulder. I've got 4 screws in my elbow where I split the humerus bone. I dislocated my left shoulder. I've ruptured my left bicep. I've had my meniscus taken out of my left knee. Broken cheek, broken eye.
So we wheeled you into the the studio this morning. And just Professor Brenda Noble, talk to us about if you'd have been around and this stem cell had been around, presumably Richard still be starting in goal for Watford, would he?
Well, I'm not going to guarantee anything. But I've got to say that is a heck of a list.
I'm just about to order my Uber over to you. Let's just crack on. I want my bicep back.
I was going to say you're just clumsy. I don't know.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you very much. It's been enlightening, it's been informative, and to be honest with you as well, it's made me feel like actually maybe one day I will have the capacity to live forever. So, Professor Brenda Noble, thank you very, very much from the UK Stem Cell Foundation.
Fantastic. It is really interesting, isn't it? It's something that... and certainly, do you know, it's amazing how much even obviously surgery's changed since I played. Because even when I had my knee operated on many, many years ago, and it was many years ago now, it was a good 16, 17 years ago, they pretty much took the cartilage out. Where even that now, they've got ways in which they can repair it so much better than they did. You know, you think that long ago, it wasn't that long ago that a certain injury, a cruciate ligament damage, would be a year injury. That was always ACL, you're out for a year. Now it's 3 months. Like, it's incredible the improvement. And of course, this is the next step. If suddenly something like this, with injury, with the different things that are going on, it's incredible.
I've noticed a few people online talking specifically about the Michael Schumacher case, and if you just tuned in, the reason we're having this discussion is because Michael Schumacher, obviously Formula 1 great, Formula 1 legend, had that tragic skiing accident, brain injury, not really been seen since, managed to get some groundbreaking stem cell procedures done in France, and look, it essentially is the future, but I just find it incredible to think about. Some of the criticism that's been levelled is that, because he's very rich, he can afford this kind of stuff. And all right, there's some truth in that. But Cristiano Ronaldo is also very, very rich. And we know that his dedication to his physical fitness is probably among the best in the world. He's got a cryo chamber in his house and all this kind of stuff. I mean, if with stuff like this, are we going to be watching Cristiano Ronaldo at the age of 60 just tearing it up in the Champions League?
That's the thing. Like, you wonder. It's funny because people have different theory. I remember meeting someone, they said, like, the human body, if treated correctly, can live to be 140, 150. You know, and actually when you hear about things like this, it then makes you start to wonder, are we almost limiting ourselves where the average age is 70 odd because we've allowed it to be that to an extent? But of course now with the advancements, we're seeing the average age actually increase all the time. You know, the only thing that's bringing it down is, say, obesity and things like that. But actually, when a lot of these other things get sorted, and with stuff like this happening, it does make you wonder if that average age will soon be in the mid-80s.
Exactly, yes. So, oh gosh, can you imagine how miserable I'm going to be in the mid-80s? Yeah, just everything's terrible. Right, still to come here on Love Sport Breakfast, Alan Lamb, former England cricketer. He's going to be on the line. Just talk about, of course, the Ashes gets underway again today. And in a slightly more light-hearted, because the Ashes has not been light-hearted for us recently, slightly more light-hearted story that we're going to be discussing later. A swimmer in America was banned from the competition after completing the race because she, well, I say accidentally got a wedgie in the pool, and people said, well, it's highly inappropriate. So we're going to be talking about sports stars' wardrobe malfunctions, Rich. So yeah, more of that to come.
Look forward to that. 28 minutes to 9.
This is Love Sport. Follow at Love Sport Radio on Twitter for all the latest news, views, competitions, and the best bits from your favourite station. Love Sport, the station giving fans a voice. Your home is your castle, and you want to protect everything inside it from theft or damage. But are you being ripped off when it comes to your home insurance? A spokesmansaid.com is a price comparison website that helps get the best deals for you.
spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money. This is Lionel, another very happy person who saved themselves money at a spokesmansaid.com.
Hi, I'm Lionel from Peacehaven. I took note of what the spokesman said and I saved £484 per year on my energy, and I recommend everybody does the same.
A spokesmansaid.com, getting real people, real savings. Compare, switch and save with a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Have you been injured in a road traffic accident, an accident at work, or an accident anywhere? It's your right to claim. You could be entitled to thousands of pounds in compensation. Harris Fowler are specialist personal injury solicitors with a 96.9% success rate, offering no win, no fee. Call 0800 213 214 to find out if you have a claim. 0800 213 214. Harris Fowler, the personal injury solicitors. Win rate based on cases issued and finished between the 1st of January and the 31st of December 2017.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, and Patrick Christys. We are here with you all the way until 10 a.m.
We are indeed, and of course the Ashes gets back underway today, and there's been some ins and outs in the team. Sam Curran and Chris Wokes are back in the side, but of course Jason Roy and Craig Overton miss out.
Delighted to say we got Kishan Vagela, I hope I pronounced that right, digital journalist at the Cricketer magazine, on the line to discuss it with us. Morning, Kishan.
Morning, how are you both?
Morning, yeah, we're very well. Hope you're well too. First and foremost, Roy and Overton have been dropped for Sam Curran and Wokes. Good call?
I think, particularly for Jason Roy, I think it's a good call. He has been struggling, and there are signs, particularly at number 4, that there may be a future home for him. But I think Sam Curran has been part of every single squad for each Ashes Test match, I should say, and not being able to feature. So it'd be good to see him feature on his home ground. Chris Wokes has obviously had a bit of a rest after missing the Old Trafford Test, so it's good to see him back. You could maybe make an argument that Craig Overton's a little unlucky, and considering he did offer some resistance with the bat, and his bowling, he took a few wickets. So I think overall, there are changes that sort of need to be made, and I think that the duo that have come in, Wokes and Curran, will certainly add that verve that maybe England have been lacking. Certainly lacked at Old Trafford.
Yeah, just on Jason Roy, before we get stuck into more of the specifics about today, I can't help but feel like he's been kind of fed to the slaughter a little bit here. I mean, the guy's never pretended to be a Test match opening batsman, had a sensational World Cup in the white ball side of the game, and realistically, haven't we all just been a bit unfair on him? Maybe hasn't Joe Root been a bit unfair on him, asking him to do a job where he was almost set up to fail?
It is. I understand that point of view, but at the same time, I think Jason Roy had to show a bit more adaptability. I think the modern day batsman has to show that. You have to be able to flick from that sort of T20 mode, if you like, to a more conservative approach, particularly opening up, in Test matches. So I can see that perhaps playing sort of your first summer of Test match cricket, and you only have one Test against an Ireland side before you go into an Ashes series. And while that is slightly unfair, I think that you may be expected a couple of failures at Edgbaston and maybe at Lords, but by the time Headingley had swung around, he should have been sort of showing that he'd acclimatised a bit more to Test cricket, and sadly that wasn't really the case, and that's why that drop down to number 4 had to come about.
Trevor Bayliss' last game as head coach. What is his legacy in the Test matches?
I think it's one that England potentially have sort of overseen the sort of transitional period. It seems strange to say when you've got James Anderson and Stuart Broad sort of in your side, but obviously Joe Root has taken over the captaincy and maybe hasn't quite found his feet in that new role. But I think Trevor Bayliss has always been there. Obviously, the greater sort of aspect of Trevor Bayliss' tenure as England coach has been, around the one-day transformation. But I think certainly he's got the raw elements in there that he can work with in the future. But certainly a lot more needs to be done, particularly with the batting, I think.
Okay, Kishan, look, do you play much cricket yourself? Just out of interest. I'm going somewhere with this, don't worry.
I haven't for about a year or so now, but when I was at university I did quite a bit. So.
Absolutely, I get that. Right, now when you're in that dressing room and it looks like the game's gone, it looks like there's nothing to play for, it's the last game of a season, let's say you finish mid-table, you can't go up, you can't go down, and a lot of people think, oh, what's the point? How would you, if you were captaining that team, get them up for this final game? How would you get them up for what a lot of people are saying is just some kind of dead rubber?
Well, the series is sort of still on the line, because if England do win, then it'll be a first drawn Ashes series since 1972 on English soil, I believe. So I think that's a motivation. Also to stop Australia winning an Ashes series. There is this sort of rivalry in essence that we all like to play up. So you've got to then sort of pander to the crowd a bit and say, okay, well, it is such a big rivalry. Let's go and prove that it is and prevent Australia winning, on English soil for the first time since 2001. So perhaps I'd use those sort of statistics to try and gee, the team up. Not that I think an England team should need sort of motivation going into an Ashes match, whether you're 4-0 down or 3-1 up. So perhaps there's still the fact that there's someone suggesting that there isn't much to play for. I'd completely argue the contrary.
And a quick word on Joe Root, his captaincy this series. What have you made of it?
Yeah, it's been another difficult series for Joe Root. Obviously, I think he denied it pretty much in his press conference yesterday that his captaincy hasn't affected his batting. It's very difficult, for the statistics sort of back that up. But I think it's been another difficult series. Having your premier strike bowler, taken out in the first test match is not ideal, obviously, but I still think there are some sort of issues in terms of field settings and sort of being proactive rather than reactive. I think that's certainly something he needs to work on, but it's all of a learning process. Who knows, a new coach may be able to inspire a more successful Joe Root in terms of captaincy, but I think there's sort of a stigma around that because Joe Root hasn't been England's best captain, that all of a sudden he's a bad player. He certainly isn't that. But whether the captaincy is for him long term remains to be seen, and maybe a future coach will view it differently.
Steve Smith is essentially a robot, actually, really. A bizarre kind of robot that doesn't seem to have any particular formula to it. He just sees the ball and hits the ball, and he keeps doing that relentlessly until his team win. How on earth do we get him out?
Well, it's an even bigger problem because I don't think there will be as much movement at the Oval. Not that the movement has necessarily covered him all over the country during this series. So, whether Sam Curran can sort of provide that sort of left arm angle, whether that will do anything, sort of remains to be seen. With the likes of Stuart Broad and Jofra Archer coming in, there hasn't really been that sort of left arm seam option. So whether that will sort of add another spanner into the works, who knows? And certainly on his home ground, Sam Curran will be confident of taking wickets. So I think that will be a hope for England. Apart from that, they've just got to sort of try that, maybe that leg stump line again, and just been trying what they try and hope on this occasion it works. But it was a very attacking shot that got him out in the second innings at Old Trafford, and they've got to. It's a very difficult one because there doesn't seem to be any sort of technical flaw, and there doesn't seem to be any sort of technique that he sort of goes by, which he certainly adheres to. So he sort of makes it up as he goes along. So maybe Sam Curran will be the weapon England need.
Well, I know Richard's got a question locked and loaded about Sam Curran, but just quickly, if Steve Smith manages to score 304 runs in the last two innings that he's going to play at the Oval, then he beats Don Bradman's 89-year-old Test record. So at the moment, he's a leading run scorer in the series. 671 runs in the 3 tests that he's played. I mean, he's missed a test match, for goodness sake. This guy's a freak. And he obviously could have scored more if he'd played that. So Don Bradman, in the 1930 Ashes series, Bradman struck 974 runs. So Smith needs a collective total of 304 runs. As I've said, can he do it?
Of course he can. And that's not news I don't think England fans will want to hear. But the fact that he had that double 100 at Manchester, he's already scored those couple of centuries at Edgbaston. He's been absolutely phenomenal in this series, and as we said, when posed with the question of how do you get him out, if your answer is sort of stunned silence and sort of clutching at straws, if you like, there's absolutely no reason why he won't score those 304 runs. So you never know. It's a different pitch, and it's a different test match. But Steve Smith is certainly odds-on favourite to do that, and odds-on favourite to score 304 runs in a Test match says something pretty special about you.
Yeah, indeed. And lastly, Kishan, we've got a lot of all-rounders. We touched on Sam Curran there. He feels quite high at 7. Bairstow and Butler 5 and 6 are only averaging 20 this year. Is that a bit of a problem?
I don't think so, because Ben Stokes obviously won't be bowling. He'll be playing as a specialist batsman with the sort of shoulder problem he has. So I think bringing back Sam Curran and Chris Wokes, one of them replacing Overton, who himself is looking more of a bowling all-rounder, but still an all-rounder. So I don't think that's too much of an issue in terms of whether that batting lineup is strong enough. I think that's a completely different issue, because as we saw, particularly in the second innings at Old Trafford, you can get that one good delivery that Joe Root got, and if Ben Stokes falls to a similar fate, you are putting your sort of trust in Johnny Bairstow and Joss Butler, who haven't had the best of series. So I don't think necessarily that including so many all-rounders is the issue. I think more it's the sort of balance of the top order batsmen.
Great stuff, Kishan. Really appreciate you joining us. That's Kishan Vigela there, digital journalist at The Cricketer magazine. Of course, the next Test is soon to get underway. How do you see it playing out, Patrick?
Oh, well, how I want it to play out, now I see it playing out, are two very different things. Ben Stokes is going to be a big loss with the ball, because he does have that knack of breaking partnerships. I know we've not particularly seen that so far this series, but he used to be the guy anyway that you tossed the ball to when there was a big partnership going on, and he had this habit of just getting a wicket in his first over or his second over. Sam Curran, I'm glad that he's in the side. I like seeing Chris Wokes in there, and I thought he was very unfairly dropped, and I actually think that's gone down as an absolutely terrible selection decision to have Craig Overton in the side. No disrespect to the man himself, but you've got a bloke there in the form of Wokes who is so consistent, especially in English conditions. Seemed odd whether or not there was a niggling injury there that we're not quite aware of. I don't know. England have got massive trouble with the batting, and it is literally all centred around how early we get Steve Smith out. And unless Joe Root has managed to look into his crystal ball and find an answer to that particular problem, I think we're in big trouble again.
14 minutes to 9.
England is the wettest country around, but what do you expect if the Queen's going to reign for so long?
Come for the sport, stay for the chat. Love Sport Radio. AsSpokesmanSaid.com is a leading price comparison website that allows you to compare every energy tariff on the market in seconds. We have more deals than any other comparison website offering energy prices, and our impartial independent switching service is free of charge. Nearly 50% of UK households have switched bills, and there are hundreds to be saved. Visit AsSpokesmanSaid.com, as recommended in The Guardian, The Times and The Sun. AsSpokesmanSaid.com.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work that way. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
This is brilliant. So we were speaking earlier about the fact that we should lay on some entertainment in the advert breaks.
Yep.
I floated the idea of cabaret.
Yep.
Okay, so from Monday onwards, whenever we have an ad break, I'm going to provide the entertainment for our YouTube viewers. So at the moment we're on YouTube, as you can see. Just type Love Sport Radio into YouTube, get on it, you can see the show live. Every single interval now, from next week onwards, I'm going to provide ad break entertainment.
And I just provided some entertainment without even realising I'm a stripper.
You took your top off, Rich.
I did, yeah. I was showing you something, and yeah.
We got your back waxed yesterday.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can just tell everyone, why not?
Well, I mean, you can see it, so.
You can't.
We
Not
can
if
if
they
you
watch
just
on
rewind the
YouTube.
video, actually.
But they can now, yeah. They watch during the break.
Also, just look at a completely unrelated note, we are still running a poll on @LoveSportRadio on Twitter. I'm going to give you the results of it now in a second. This poll is, in light of what Gareth Southgate has said about England players almost definitely suffering or going to suffer racial abuse when they play Bulgaria in Sofia next month, we were asking you what you thought should be done about it. Should England A, refuse to travel, B, walk off if they hear the abuse, or C, carry on and try and win the game? The results so far, loads of you voted actually, so thank you. Just go to @LoveSportRadio on Twitter. 12% refuse to travel, 40% 40 walk off if they hear it. Now, interestingly, because this has switched since the last time we read this out, 48% carry on and win the game regardless.
There you go. Well, I'm delighted to say for the first time this morning we have Mr. Kieran Critchard in the room. How are we?
Good, thank you. Good.
I think we should jazz it up a little bit and make it Kieran Critchard.
Well, and then we could make it all French again. We've had that theme beforehand. We could do. I mean, how do you feel about that? You obviously speak French.
Yeah, I used to be able to speak French, not so much nowadays, but I could just about get by.
That bang to the head and then it just went.
It disappears, yeah. Concussion is a nightmare. Kieran, what have you brought with us?
Yeah, obviously the paper's dominated by the final test match of the series. Actually, yesterday was the first time in a long while that kind of the papers were more dominated by football news than cricket, actually, which I think is a positive sign that earlier in the summer, during the World Cup, I was quite critical of the national media not covering the cricket enough. There were some games where England had won a World Cup game and it was about the 5th or 6th leading story. And I was thinking, well, surely England winning a World Cup game should be higher up. But anyway, obviously the headline's dominated by a certain South African-born opening batsman / number 4 / out of the side player, Jason Roy, out in the cold is what the Daily Telegraph lead with. Roy dropped for Oval Test as Root says, I want to lead in Australia. Obviously, England have already announced that they will make 2 changes. Jason Roy and Craig Overton will miss out. Now, Jason Roy is being dropped, although Joe Root has said that he's going to go away and work on his technique. He's got a lot of technique to work on, if I'm being brutally honest, to succeed at this level. Craig Overton, it may seem harsh, but he did suffer a back spasm during that 4th test match, so not worth taking a risk considering how many injuries England currently have. The fact that James Anderson broke down after 4 overs in the first test match, England don't want a replica of that type of situation happening again, especially with Ben Stokes playing as a specialist batsman in this test match, which I think is a wise move. No point taking the risk. I know obviously there's still national pride to play for, but there's no point Ben Stokes trying to bowl, potentially rupturing a muscle or something in his shoulder and being out for the winter. So Sam Curran comes in for the first time in the series on his home ground, and the suggestion is, and I would tend to agree with it, why is it taken until the 5th test match for Sam Curran to play, considering he was England's player of the summer in test match cricket last summer? So it seems strange why he's had to wait until this test match, especially with James Anderson being injured, Chris Wokes carrying a niggle from the World Cup as well. Wokes is the other man to come back in, of course, missed the 4th test match. In hindsight, people suggesting maybe he should have played at Old Trafford. The type of pitch wasn't as bouncy and as quick as usually the Old Trafford pitch is. So he's the other one in for Craig Overton.
Interesting. How do you see it playing out? Does it? The thing is, you say it's obviously there's a bit of cricket again today, and it hasn't been dominated recently because of the football. Of course, England doing an extraordinary game against Kosovo, so naturally that was very much all of the papers yesterday. The Sun had actually continued with that theme I see today, but you're right, the other papers have gone with the cricket. But do we care? I mean, is it that important? Let's say we win and we end up drawing the series, but of course they still retain the Ashes. Does it matter?
It does matter because it's still a test match against Australia. And whenever, irrelevant of whether the series done or dusted, whether it's the first or the last test match, it's still an honour to put on that shirt. I've told you many times how my dream as a young kid growing up was to play for England in an Ashes series, so it should be. It should be
that dream, Kieran.
Well, I think that dream is long gone.
Stem cell research
by now. At least I can talk about it. That's the very least that I can do. But it should be a massive pride anytime you put on that England shirt. So especially in an Ashes series at home, people will say there's also the Test Championship to play for. That obviously this Ashes series marked the beginning of the Test Championship. So in terms of points for that, yes, the series is gone. and I don't really see a drawn series as something that we can take away as a positive from the series, because ultimately you don't go into an Ashes series, in particular when you have to win the series to regain the Ashes. I don't regard a draw as a decent series. We're there to win it. As the old phrase goes, you're in it to win it in the national lottery. So that's my view, but still it's a test match against Australia, so that should be motivation enough to really turn up and put in a display when England have been disappointing to lose this series.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually always my dream growing up to win the national lottery. And those numbers never came up.
That would be ideal. I'm not going to lie, winning. But then you wouldn't necessarily be talking about sport, Patrick, because you might think, actually, I've earned all that money.
No, I would actually. And I'd funnel a load of money into Love Sport, and I'd sort you out. I'd sort my producer out. Absolutely.
We'll all have our fingers crossed that Patrick wins the lottery.
I'd make
soon.
you provide the advertising break entertainment that we do. So, but again, I can't emphasise the money element of this. You would do it. You'd dance me. Right, so I want to talk about something else entirely. I want to talk about the swimmer who's been given a bum rap.
Yeah.
So she's 17 years old, this poor girl. She's a top young swimmer in Alaska, which I imagine is freezing. Actually,
they don't swim in
freezing cold, this poor girl.
Okay.
Anyway, she was disqualified because her swimsuit gave her a massive wedgie and showed off her bum, and some rather sour-faced judge on the side went, "It was so far up I could see her." Actually, they probably didn't say that, did they? It's Alaska. It was so far up I could see her butt cheek touching butt cheek. It's swimming, right? It's swimming, right? And the men wear Speedos, don't they? So this, I find, is absolutely ridiculous that this kind of thing has happened. What a killjoy. She won the race as well. She won the breaststroke. But, I mean, Roy Keane, would he have had to have been disqualified when he went off to change his underwear halfway through? Didn't Stephen Ireland accidentally have his pants pulled down during a game? Zinedine Zidane has flashed us a lot of the crown jewels at one particular point. Not his fault, of course. Rich, I mean, this is Fabian Barthez actually weed on the pitch, didn't he?
He was desperate.
Gary Lineker.
Of
Gary
course.
Lineker.
His pants.
That was disgusting. Gary, how do you show your face in public after that?
But look, this just seems it does. From what I'm reading, if exactly what we're reading is true,
it is. Yeah.
Then it is. It's the Sun, so I mean, we've got nothing to fear or to question. But if it's true, then it does seem incredibly harsh, because that does happen when you swim from time to time.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I don't know, Kieran. Do you get that issue?
I just don't get why people get offended by it, to be honest.
Exactly.
Who cares?
Yeah.
But
I read this. The amount of times, Kieran, you've been in the pool, you got your Speedos on, and that's happened. I mean, you were telling me before, and it's a nightmare, but it happens, doesn't it?
I used to actually be a quite good swimmer when much younger, though. when I was about 11 years old. That's one of my great sporting memories of the national championships.
Like a fish.
Finished fourth, actually, in the under-11 breaststroke. So that's when I was all right at swimming. No longer, unfortunately. But hey ho.
It's reminded me of one of the most, by far and away, embarrassing moment of my life. I was on a boat in the Mediterranean. We'd hired a boat, and I jumped into the water because I thought I could see a turtle, and I I got my board shorts caught on like a bit of the back end of the boat on the way in, and ripped them off completely. So I'm in the water. Then my partner is desperately trying to secure the boat, but she can't really sail, so she's just drifting away from me. So we had to flag for help, right? So I'm in the water flagging for help, and one of these kind of, like these booze cruise boats goes, they toss a rubber ring into the water, and I get hoisted up to second deck completely naked. That's like you should have seen the look on these people's faces. It went, because there were kids there and stuff. It went from "we've saved a guy in the sea" to me with nothing but a bright orange rubber ring around my waist, holding onto a rope, being hoisted up to second deck. It was horrific.
That's in between us, Simon, during the TV series where he just stands up waving to Carly with his sock.
Yeah, it was like that, but there wasn't a sock.
3 minutes to 9.
Love sport.
Oh, it's okay. Let's face it, when your kids are ill, you'd do anything to help them feel better. But remember, antibiotics aren't always needed. You might not realise it, but taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk of a longer and more severe illness. Help keep your family well. Always take your doctor's advice on antibiotics. Search NHS antibiotics.
Or better.
If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit wedooh.com. We Do, the smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area, drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Alright, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you for another hour or so. Hopefully many more stories like that to come, Patrick.
There's a few, yes. Unfortunately, depending on which way you look at it.
I'm just imagine you twirling around.
It was because the wind caught. So it was horrible, mate. Because you've got the whole 2 decks full of people that think that they've just, because by this time the boat I was on is quite a long way away.
Yeah.
So I think they think I've just been drifting in the Mediterranean for quite a while. It's like Castaway. And they've gone, we've found this guy, we've saved him. And as soon as I came out the water, you could hear that.
Oh no!
Yeah, it was horrible. And then of course I'm on deck after that. They have to just wrap me in a towel.
And of course you got the big ring around you. So I'm guessing you couldn't have even protected yourself or covered yourself.
But the ring hooks onto your waist. So yeah, it's horrible.
Anyway, lots coming up in the next hour. We're going to be talking to Mark Edworthy, Derby ambassador, Alan Lamb, of course, former England cricketer. Lots more as well in the next hour. Do stay with us. Love Sport, 9 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile, and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
News Centre at 9. There could be food and medicine shortages, more public disorder, long delays at channel crossings and electricity price rises in the event of a no-deal Brexit. Preparation documents have been released after opposition MPs defeated the government in the House of Commons to order their publication. Labour now wants Parliament recalled in order to stop us leaving without an agreement, but Defence Secretary Ben Wallace says this projection is a worst-case scenario.
If you don't do something about it, then of course some of these scenarios could happen, and that's why we are doing something about it. And these are planning assumptions. These are not definite predictions of what is going to happen.
The engineering giant Babcock has been confirmed as the government's preferred bidder to build a fleet of new warships. The 5 Royal Navy frigates will be made at the company's facility in Fife, costing around $250 million a ship. John Lewis has warned it would be unable to mitigate the impact of a possible no-deal Brexit on trading conditions. The group, which also owns Waitrose, posted pre-tax losses of just under £26 million for the 6 months to July. It suggested children should be banned from buying loot boxes in video games because of fears it can turn them to gambling. A Commons committee did an inquiry into addictive technologies and found more measures are needed to protect vulnerable people. The developers of the hugely successful video game Fortnite were quizzed by MPs. Canon Pence from Epic Games, which created the multiplayer phenomenon, says they're concerned, but ultimately the responsibility lies elsewhere.
I don't think it is our primary responsibility to determine how much individual players should play Fortnite.
The families of a British-Australian woman and her Australian boyfriend have pleaded for them to be released from prison in Iran. Jolie King and Mark Firkin were reportedly accused of flying a drone without a licence. And Top Gear host Andrew Flintoff insists he's absolutely fine after being involved in a crash while filming. The ex-England cricketer was reportedly driving a 3-wheel vehicle. That's latest. I'm Will Rowe.
This is Love Sport.
Confucius once said, life is simple, but we insist on making it complicated. We're no philosophers, but at SEAT we believe choosing your next car should be simple too. So we're offering the Ibiza FR for £199 a month, including 17-inch alloy wheels, full LED headlights and your choice of colour at no extra cost. Why make life more complicated? Because them, us, SEAT.
£597 initial rental price based on FR 1 litre MPI 48-month contract hire, 18s plus subject to status, not in conjunction with any other offers. Damage charges may apply. No ownership. SEAT Financial Services.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
morning, Love Sport Breakfast on Love Sport Radio with me, Richard Lee and Patrick Christys. And here are your headlines. Joe Root will lead England, who are trying to avoid a second successive Ashes defeat under his leadership when the fifth and final test starts at the Oval this morning. It will be head coach Trevor Bayliss' last match in charge after 4 years at the helm. Jason Roy and Craig Overton have been dropped for all-rounders Sam Curran and Chris Wokes. Gareth Southgate fears England players will be racially abused in Bulgaria next month. A Bulgarian fan was kicked out of Wembley on Saturday after alleged racist abuse directed at Raheem Sterling, and UEFA fined Bulgaria just under £35,000 in 2011 when Ashley Young, Ashley Cole and Theo Walcott suffered abuse in a Euro 2012 qualifier. Anthony Joshua's trainer admitted he knew AJ was concussed during his defeat to Andy Ruiz Jr. Rob McCracken's revelation prompted a furious reaction from brain injury experts who claim Joshua could have died because the corner man did not throw in the towel. And Wilfried Zaha has told his agent he wants to terminate their contract after failing to secure a move away from Crystal Palace. Will Salthouse has a close relationship with the club's chairman Steve Parish and has reportedly been informed of Zaha's desire to end their relationship in writing. This is Love Sport Breakfast. Myself, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys, here with you for another hour or so.
Hello, yes.
You've got an interesting section for us now. Of course, we've spoke a lot this morning about the Ashes test that's coming up. We spoke a lot about football as we do. We've touched on a bit of boxing, all sorts, as ever. However, you've got a bit of an interesting section that you want to talk about now.
Yeah, well look, absolutely. Just quickly, though, I do want to recap, in case you've missed it. Anthony Joshua's trainer, Rob McCracken, has admitted that he knew that AJ had concussion during his first bout with Andy Ruiz Jr. in America. The bout that, of course, Joshua was knocked down 4 times before he lost to Ruiz Jr., who looks a little bit more like the Michelin Man than a professional boxer. Obviously now they're going to take on each other again in Saudi Arabia. Look, the implication here is that decision could have proved fatal for Anthony Joshua. It seems perhaps a little bit excessive, but it's opened this can of worms as to whether or not a fighter should be allowed to continue when they've had concussion. And certainly if anyone has seen a lot of Anthony Joshua's interviews recently, there is a fear there that perhaps maybe there is some damage. Just moving on as well on that, again, the Gareth Southgate, the England manager, is having conversations with his football players before they take on Bulgaria next month in Sofia, talking about not kind of if, but when they get racially abused from the stands. Bulgaria were fined £35,000 in 2011 after Theo Walcott, Ashley Young and Ashley Cole were racially abused in the stands. There was also a Bulgaria fan evicted from Wembley just the other week, really, the other day I suppose, after apparently launching some racist tirade at Raheem Sterling. We've got a Twitter poll ongoing at the minute at Love Sport Radio. If we know, as we seem to know, that we're going to get racial abuse of our black players when we play Bulgaria and Sofia, and we know that UEFA do absolutely precious little about it because, and I don't mind saying this because I would happily take them on, they don't care about racism in football, and I'm happy to say that because they don't. There is no evidence for me anyway to suggest that they give 2 hoots about racism in football. So should England travel at all? Should we walk off if we hear any racism? And or should we carry on and just do our best to win the game? So get voting on that poll now. But moving on from all that, Rich.
Indeed. What do we got?
Well, footballers, right? What they're like, eh? You know, what they're like. Kevin Prince Boateng has admitted to buying 3 cars in one day while at Spurs. This is in quite a revealing interview he's done, where he actually does, to be fair on him, say he regrets, as he quoted, living like a king. Well, don't we all? Don't we all? But it got me thinking about just excesses that footballers go to, footballers that have splashed the cash on stuff, but particularly footballers' worst houses. So I've done a little bit of research on this.
Okay.
Now, Stephen Ireland, who of course has played for many clubs, also Manchester City, when he was at Manchester City, he had the world's largest freestanding shark tank in his house.
Yeah.
Andy Carroll, in his bedroom, has a mirrored ceiling, right?
Yep.
And furry walls, which is bizarre, isn't it? Nani, formerly of Manchester United, had a life-size bronze statue of himself in his house. Now, you are a footballer, Rich.
Was
a footballer, still are. And you obviously have a lot of footballer mates.
Yeah.
Have any of those got any shockingly lavish purchases or really just kind of terrible houses?
Terrible houses, no. Let me think. Anything that's shockingly garish.
Didn't you all get your cars wrapped?
That was a thing for a while, and the guy has actually gone on to have his own TV show now, Yanni Mize, for those that have seen it.
Related, distantly.
Is that true?
Yes.
Is that actually true?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. He's married, or was married, a bit awkward, to to one of my girlfriend's cousins.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, anyway, so he has a like a Pimp My Ride type place, and yeah, it was back in the day where it must have been 10, 15 years ago now, where he was introduced to the Watford lot, and pretty much everyone had their car altered in some way, including myself. I decided to black out my car completely, have a bit of a wrap put around it. It would look pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah. Anyone else thought that?
Anyway,
okay, so Mario Balotelli had a camouflaged. We just had a message in, actually. Thank you for reminding me. At Love Sports Radios on the Twitter handle. 0208 70 20 558 is the number. Mario Balotelli had that camouflage Bentley, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Which ironically made him stand out even more.
Yeah, there was. So it was. Oh, what was it? William Gallas, wasn't it? As well, of course, had the chrome-plated McLaren as well known. Apparently, Thierry Henry had a fish tank, £250,000 fish tank in his house.
Wow.
It cost £2,500 a year to feed the fish.
Can you imagine? This is the thing, which is that, like, even if I had all of the money in the world, I don't know if I could bring myself to sink 2 million of it on a fish tank.
It'd be quite cool, though, wouldn't it? You know, talk about Stephen Island having sharks. Imagine just going down and you're chilling watching TV, you look to your right and you've got sharks swimming around.
Paul Pogba has a five-a-side football pitch in the upstairs of his house. So if you currently walk into the landing of my house, you see like a clothes horse with last week's washing on it. There's a little bit of rising damp. And quite a funky smell, and we think it's coming from the attic, but we can't quite tell. Whereas Paul Pogba, five-a-side football pitch.
Amazing.
It's a different world.
But look, he's just wanting to practice every hour of the day. That's what I take from that.
Yes. Some other footballing news.
Okay.
Vincent Kompany had his testimonial last night. I would urge everybody to go online and watch some of the clips from it, specifically Paul Scholes.
By the way, was that touch, and for those that haven't seen it, it was a quite incredible touch where, to try and describe it, ball's passed into him and he's almost done like a full swing, but just grazed the ball with his boot. So it was so sublime. And the spin on it then takes it through and puts one of the players in. Just an incredible touch still.
Vincent Kompany missed his own testimonial because of a hamstring injury. It strikes me as the type of thing that you might do, Rich.
Yeah. I mean... Well, and interestingly, of course, Gary Neville actually got a hamstring injury during the game, which was quite entertaining.
And he got shouted at by Jamie Carragher for being at fault for one of the first goals.
One of the goals, not tracking.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
No, it was very... Do you know what? It was very entertaining. Vince Kompany did get a hamstring injury, which, I don't know, I just feel that, is your hamstring that bad? Surely if it's your own testimonial, it's your own like tribute game, just get yourself on the pitch. No one needs you to be sprinting up and down the pitch. Just get on the pitch and just, keep it simple. Just give everyone a wave. Surely you play like 5 minutes.
Just do a Paul Scholes, which you just stand in the final third.
Don't leave the centre circle. That's it. Put yourself on centre midfield. Don't leave the centre circle.
But here's the argument that I want to build, right, which is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should give Paul Scholes a contract. We've seen him dragged out of retirement with great effect before by Sir Alex Ferguson. It's time to do it again. The guy isn't in absolutely awful shape. Okay, he's not done he's not done something like Razor Ruddock. You know what I mean? He's not kind of just expanded.
Yeah.
He's all right. And crucially, the thing with Paul Scholes is he doesn't have to move. What are Manchester United missing now? A good creative midfielder that can just pick a defence's pocket. Just tell Paul, mate, just stand there.
Well, we're talking a lot about United getting back to what it was they were in the past and that kind of mentality they had. Why not just play one game where they put Schmeichel in goal? Yeah. They go for Gary Neville right back, Dennis Irwin left back, Pallister and Bruce centre back. Oh, actually Bruce right now. Of course he's a bit busy managing Newcastle, but
How do you reckon Steve Bruce would react to the call up?
I don't know, but I think we actually might have some footage because we did put the idea to him, and this is what he had to say.
Why, man, away the lads!
Obviously excited about the idea. I mean, you then go, what do you go midfield? Keenan Ince? Beckham on the right, Kanchelskis, do we throw him in as well?
Andre Kanchelskis, who
Fergie's on the left, obviously.
Fergie famously signed him because he wanted to change United's drinking culture, and Kanchelskis doesn't drink.
There you go. There you go. He always had that famous celebration where he did the tiptoes on the football, which was quite cool. Cantona and Hughes up front. Mark Hughes is out of work at the moment, I'm sure. In fact, I've actually left out Paul Scholes. Do you know what? I've named the team, and I've actually left out the one player that we're talking about.
Yeah, well, no, Paul Scholes. But this is it. I just think he could do a job.
I think maybe Paul Ince. Yeah, maybe do we go Ince or Keane? Maybe you don't want both of them together. We'll maybe have a Scholes and a Keane, or a Scholes and an Ince.
I just think I'd like to see Roy Keane back at it, just doing really foul-mouthed interviews with MUTV again, like hitting people on the training ground. There is no implication whatsoever that Roy Keane ever hit anyone on the training ground, and we move on.
We do indeed. Well, look, we've got lots to come in the rest of the show. We're going to be talking to Alan Lamb very shortly, former England cricketer. We're also speaking to Mark Edworthy later on, Derby ambassador. Of course, Derby host Cardiff Friday night.
Yes, absolutely. Just want to fill people in before we have a chat with Alan Lamb, of course, former English cricketer, cricketing legend, really. The Ashes gets underway again today. Both Jason Roy and Craig Overton are out of the side. That's the team that lost the last test to Australia and handed them the Ashes. Obviously, Sam Curran and Chris Wokes. Chris Wokes comes back in, so it's going to be a slightly different dynamic. Ben Stokes isn't bowling because he's got a shoulder injury, so he's just going to be batting, and it looks as though, well, we'll have to wait and see, actually, but potentially Johnny Bairstow in at 3.
14 minutes past 9.
This is Love Sport. Think the energy price cap will save you money? Think again. You could be saving a lot more on cheaper energy tariffs. Price comparison site A Spokesman Said will show you just how much money you could be saving against your current tariff. Don't throw away your hard-earned money to the energy companies. Check out aspokesmansaid.com and you could switch to cheaper bills in minutes.
thespokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus to stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
Want to know how I change a light bulb? I hold the bulb and I wait for the world to revolve around me.
This is Love Sport.
That's for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. We are here till 10. Mr. Freddie Flintoff had a crash.
Yeah. No, first and foremost, though, Alan Lamb. Right.
Yes.
So Alan Lamb, English cricketing legend.
Yep.
We've lined him up. He's going to be on the show. He's going to be talking to us about the Ashes. We've rung him. He's in the shower.
He is.
So Alan Lamb, we're going to be getting a squeaky clean, nice and fresh, lovely scented Alan Lamb, well-basted lamb coming up to us.
He did ask if we could do the interview while he was in the shower, but we said, look, just might as well wait till you're out.
Shall we try and slip in as many kind of like shower or bathroom related puns as we possibly can in this interview?
Have you got any good ones?
I'll come up with some.
Yeah,
you know, just things like Joe Root's record obviously isn't as squeaky clean as he might like.
Yeah.
So far, I mean, it won't be.
So far, England have been a shower of.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. We could talk. Yeah, we could talk about rubber ducks, couldn't we? People getting ducks.
True.
We could also say, at least it won't be wet out there, so the ball won't be like a bar of soap.
Again, very clever. You've already got several. I feel like we're wasting them.
We've wasted them. I've peaked.
Freddie Flintoff.
So, Freddie Flintoff has been involved in a very, very nasty car crash, actually, while filming Top Gear. Freddie crashed at 124 miles an hour at exactly the same spot where Richard Hammond almost died all of those years ago. So the ex-England cricketer is 41 years old, overshot a drag race strip in his three-wheeler and spun off in a cloud of dust. Worried co-hosts Paddy McGuinness and Chris Harris dashed to the scene, and it was at Elvington Airfield near York on Tuesday, but apparently he's absolutely fine. They said that he really, really, really banged his head badly, but there's been no difference whatsoever.
The concussion made no difference.
Yeah.
That is quite bad, though, the fact that it is in the exact same spot.
But I mean, this is what I can't believe in this health and safety culture that we're in at the moment, where basically everyone is essentially born with a hard hat and a high-vis jacket on. The fact that they've gone, right, so we've got a former England cricketer who's got an absolutely, very dubious boxing victory, and what we're going to do is we're going to put him in a car, right, and we're going to shoot him across an airfield at 140 miles an hour, and in a three-wheeled car, head first,
where it's probably not long enough. So
well, it isn't, is it?
Definitely not, because apparently it's not the first time.
No,
They're not learning lessons.
And we're going to get, exactly. And just FYI, this is the same place where one of our presenters nearly died years ago. Right, you are then, Freddie. Start her up.
What could possibly go wrong? What could go wrong?
I like the idea as well that him and Paddy McGuinness are like, oh, I think you can do this one, Fred. Yeah. No, Paddy. No, I wouldn't want to deny you the opportunity to hurtle head first at 140 miles an hour into a wall.
Is there anything I need to know before I do this? No, you'll be fine.
Just a question from the producer. Does he really need a helmet? Yeah. Does he really need a helmet? It's just better for camera. We can't really see the face.
So, yeah, he is fine, though. So, I guess he was obviously very, very fortunate. What else is going on the front pages? I feel like we haven't really touched too much on the current affairs this morning.
Yeah, just while we're waiting for Alan Lamb to dry himself off.
Freddie's drying his hair now. He's
sorry, he's just nipped to Tesco's. Anyway, while we're waiting for Alan Lamb, so Boris Johnson is being accused of lying to the Queen over the prorogation of Parliament, the suspension of Parliament. Now, this I absolutely love, because he sent Jacob Rees-Mogg to go and tell the Queen that this was perfectly legal and above board. Now, the Queen is 93 years old, right? So I've just got this beautiful image of Jacob Rees-Mogg getting her to sign the prorogation papers, and then just afterwards, just enrolling her in a pyramid scheme. Just selling her a conservatory that she doesn't need, going around just tapping things on the house, just saying things like, that's really shoddy. Cowboys did that. Yeah. Absolute cowboys.
Yeah, you're going to need a new wall.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, because I've got into the wall, and when I got in there, I saw there's a load more going on.
There's damp.
Oh, gosh.
You won't believe the damp.
Once that sets in. and again, I tell you what, and I want to make this very clear, whoever did this job was a conman.
Yeah. It'll be, what's the show? Don't get done, get Dom. He'll turn up next.
Yeah, you just see Jacob Rees-Mogg and Boris Johnson on the next series of Rogue Traders.
Rogue Traders. We are at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, with the Queen. Well, and then they just came and they said I needed a new roof. And it turns out I didn't need a new roof. And you see like Charles sat there going, I told her not to do it, but they were just so persuasive.
Well, look, I think we are going to move on to a little bit of cricket, because I think that Mr. Lamb will be available very shortly, right. We hope. But of course, the next test does get underway very shortly, actually, and we should get 5 full days, all being well, looking at the forecast.
Yes, the weather looks really, really good for the next 5 days. To be honest with you, the main story about this is not England trying to get this game, get a victory in this game and level this Ashes series, because it's always been and gone, really, hasn't it? The Aussies have won. Yes, it's Trevor Bayliss' last game. There's really only kind of one story in town with this, and that is that Steve Smith needs 307 runs to beat Don Bradman's record for the highest number of runs scored in an Ashes Test series. It stood for 89 years. Bear in mind as well that Steve Smith has missed an entire Test match. It is bonkers what's going on, Rick.
Great stuff. Well, look, as we said, we have got a very, very special guest on the line, Alan Lamb, former England cricketer. And I believe, Alan, in fact, first and foremost, good morning, Alan.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Hope you're well. Our producer informs us you've got some quite strong opinions on Sam Curran.
Oh. Well, I've got strong opinions on the selection, full stop.
Okay.
I'm sure that these guys must be blindfolded when they're selecting an England side this summer.
Really? What's your thinking?
Well, first of all, we knew right from the beginning that they'd picked Jason Roy because of his form in one-day cricket. There is no way Jason can play Test cricket, and we've seen it. They know that Joe Root is a number 4. They pushed him at number 3. Okay, Burns has managed to get himself into form. Then now they've put Denley in, right, opening the batting, and he's done a not bad job. But our big problem has been the top 3. And if your top 3 don't get runs, you can't rely on your 5, 6, and 7. And having Butler batting at 7 as a batter, that shows you've got no confidence in your side at all.
Look, I think you're absolutely spot on. It does seem very, very strange. And what seems strange for me is that you look at the level of detailed preparation that goes into all top-level sports now, most notably recently when England won the Cricket World Cup, of course, and the minute level of precision that is done into every single decision. And then it just seems a little bit like this England Test team was thrown together and it looked a bit jumbled and a bit confused. Alan, what's your take on that, and why on earth has that happened?
Well, I think that a lot of thought went into the one-dayers, and over the last 4 years, they've looked at that one-day squad, and that Morgan's done an unbelievable job getting to them where they were and winning the World Cup, right? But they should have been planning, right? We've had hardly any first-class cricket played at all because of the World Cup and then of our one-day system. You see, what they should have done is got rid of the one day straight away at the beginning of the season, and then played, the 4-day games. So then you would be able to find out who can play 4-day cricket, because at the moment there's no one. Have a look at the scores in the county cricket. Look at them in the last 2 days. I don't think there's only one side that's got 300. They're all getting bowled out for 200. I mean,
yeah, and if
and there's not wet weather around. I mean, what is the problem?
Well, this is it. And look, I know there are a few things we want to go and touch on a little bit later on with you, Alan, like Steve Smith, of course, we can't ignore that. Trevor Bayliss' last game as well. But I can't help but feel that, are we being a little bit blind here to the fact that, given how jumbled this is, given what a lack of potential selection options there may be for England in the longer form of the game, and given that clearly the focus seems to be on the one-day side of things more than test match level, is there just a chance that we might be entering quite a dark phase in English Test cricket?
Well, we've got to find a top order. I mean, I don't know what Ashley Giles is doing, because he should have been, they should have prepared for all this. We've got to get people in. They say that Vince, I wasn't a massive, great supporter of Vince, but, I'm sure that if we had put Vince in, he would have done a good job. He scored runs against Australia before, right? But what we're trying to do is we're trying to fit in Stokes, Besto, and Butler. Now, Butler's had a shocking series, and you can't have an out-and-out batter batting at 7. It's ridiculous. So personally, they've taken the eye off the ball, and they haven't looked at the test matches thinking, oh, we'll be fine. Okay, take Steve Smith out that side, we probably would have beaten them. But, you take Ben Stokes as your knock, we wouldn't have, So you've got your pluses and minuses. But all I can see is that we've taken the eye off the ball. Steve Smith has been the total difference in their side. But not only those 3-4 bowlers have been absolutely brilliant for Australia, and they are the 3 best bowlers in the world at the moment. They've got Australia, and they're going to get better, and they planned it. Justin Langer has been planning this. He's brought old players in. He's had Warne involved. He's had Matthew Hayden come and speak to him. He's had Steve Waugh was helping him for the first 2 test matches. Steve Waugh told me before that Sybil was going to play in the first test match 10 days out before it started. So these guys had been planning. And what did they do? Sybil played. And they said, if Stark doesn't swing the ball, he's not effective. So they can play around. They've got 5 quality bowlers. And all of a sudden, we bring in Archer. Fantastic. Archer is an out-and-out quick bowler. Use him in 4 to 5 over spells, not 8 or 9 over spells. So their roots got it wrong.
Yeah. Or was it naive to think that Bairstow, Roy and Butler could all perform at their best in the Ashes after such a high-intensity World Cup, do you think?
No, it's very difficult. They they should have given them a break against Ireland. But you've got to still be playing cricket. And everyone's moaned about, they should have had a longer time before they. Well, I'm afraid, some of the Australian batters, look at Warner, he played. You have a look at those guys that played in the one-day side, they've done all right. Warner's the only one who's really hasn't got it right. So, I think the Aussies have planned well for this, and unfortunately we took the foot off the pedal, and we're paying the consequences. And then the side they've picked now, I mean, how can they drop Wokes, who was with their best bowler, bring Overton in, and now drop Overton? I mean, that's really egg on your face.
Do you think this all, because it is Trevor Bayliss' last game, of course, do you think that what we've seen recently might just put a little bit of a cloud over his legacy, I suppose?
Well, of course, I think he probably wants to head back to Australia as quick as he can.
Fair enough. Just want to touch on...
To get Smith out, you need someone who takes the ball away, okay? And Wokes is a guy who can swing the ball away, like a Jimmy Anderson. A Jimmy Anderson would get Smith out because he swings the ball away. But if all the rest of our bowlers bring the ball in, so it's just feeding candy to kids.
Alan, I just want to get your reaction to this. We'll just hear from Joe Root on Jason Roy.
He's had an opportunity to come in and play Test cricket, get a feel for it, and it's not quite gone how he would have liked, but I'm sure he'll go away, work extremely hard and come back again. And that's what you expect of guys when they get left out, and I'm sure he'll have that attitude and want to try and prove a point and get himself back into the side.
Your thoughts on Jason Roy?
Well, I think he's got it right from the beginning, but he probably shouldn't have been picked in the first place. They've only picked him on his performance. They said, well, if he can do that in one-day cricket, he could do it in Test cricket. I said, bollocks. There is no chance of that. Now, listen, he's going to have to go away and work on it. He's got to get runs in the Surrey team. But when's he going to play? When is he going to play 4-day cricket? He's going to get a chance now for Surrey. So let's see how he goes. Listen, he's a very talented player, no doubt about that. But, he's got to go and get runs on the board and go and get big runs for Surrey, batting at 4.
Do you think that Joe Root is the right captain? He's, from what we can hear, he's a bit of a cheeky chappy in the dressing room, but there's been numerous times on the pitch where you look at it and there hasn't appeared to be much of a plan B.
Well, I think he's made a few technical mistakes on the captaincy. I'm not too sure how much involved he's on the selection, but overall, I think he is the right guy, but he's got to learn quicker.
Yeah, well, that certainly seems to be the case. Right now, look, Alan, I'm keen that I know that we're all absolutely gutted about what's happened with this Ashes series, but hey, it's been a decent summer of cricket. We won the Cricket World Cup, for goodness sake, and I think we should have celebrated that a bit more. I wanted an open top bus parade. I wanted fireworks. I want the works. People tell me I get very carried away by this kind of stuff, but whatever, right? I wanted this kind of stuff. I want to know now how Alan Lamb, if current England captain Alan Lamb is in this dressing room, you've got one game now against the Aussies to make up for what's been a disappointing series. What do you say, Alan, to this lot, to these England players, to get them firing, to get them up for this final game?
Well, it's pride. You've got to get out. You don't want Australia. They've taken the Ashes, but you want to square the series. You want to go and play with passion, pride, and commitment. And remember, it's Test match cricket, not one-day cricket. Get stuck in. Don't throw your wicket away. Let them try and get you out. If they can get you out, then they've done well. But don't get yourself out. Go and score runs and go and get big runs.
Alan, good lad.
Great stuff. Alan, really appreciate you joining us today.
Okay, and also just one thing. Sam Curran's selection is mind-boggles. The guy's been carrying drinks. He hasn't played any cricket since June. Mm-hmm. I mean, how can they pick a guy now to come and rescue England?
Yeah, so look, crucially then, so you wouldn't have picked him, or
I wouldn't have picked him. Of course not. How can you pick him at this stage?
Is that because you don't necessarily rate him as a player, or is it just the timing of
it? No, I rate him highly, but the guy hasn't played, so he's going to be under massive pressure. I've spoken to him, and the guy's going to be under pressure, but I'm sure he'll handle it. He'll do the best he can. But I would have never thrown the poor young kid in the deep end now and say, come on, you've got to stop. What cricket's he played? He hasn't played for 4 weeks.
That's a fair point. Yeah. Well, look, again, Alan, appreciate you.
And now they're throwing him in. Overton, listen, that wicket's not going to turn. They should have played Overton and Wokes. Wokes can bat. Wokes should have been at 7. They should have played Overton and probably left out Leach. Yeah. And got Joe Root to bowl some off spinners. There you are. That's my side. End of the matter.
Look, get him on the board.
Absolutely. What do you guys think? 0208 70 20 558 on the WhatsApp. Alan Lamb, fantastic. Appreciate your honesty. That's great stuff. Alan Lamb there, former England cricketer, with his thoughts.
We need more Alan Lambs. I'm absolutely sick and tired, right, of sports stars coming out and giving totally meaningless interviews, okay? Totally meaningless interviews, devoid of any kind of substance, no opinion whatsoever. The classic, it's a game of two halves, which ties us in nicely to what we're going to hear after the break.
28 minutes to
10. Love sport. We've all got one, and we're not afraid to put it on display. Our opinions, that is. Share yours now at Love Sport Radio on Twitter or call us 0208 70 20 558. Love Sport Radio. your fan station.
Have you been injured in a road traffic accident, an accident at work, or an accident anywhere? It's your right to claim. You could be entitled to thousands of pounds in compensation. Harris Fowler are specialist personal injury solicitors with a 96.9% success rate, offering no win, no fee. Call 0800 213 214 to find out if you have a claim. 0800 213 214. Harris Fowler, the personal injury solicitors. Win rate based on cases issued and finished between the 1st of January and the 31st of December 2017.
If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit WEDOOH.com. We Do, the smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
Love sport.
Last Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you for another half an hour or so. We've got another special guest on the line. Of course, Derby host Cardiff on Friday night. We've got Mark Edworthy, Derby ambassador, on the line to discuss that and much more. Morning, Mark.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we?
Yeah, very well. Hope you're well too. First and foremost, Derby start to the season. What do you make of it?
Well, it's funny enough, I was just looking at the results and stuff like that. You have a mad dash in August to get all the games out of the way, and then the people who organise things decide then to have an international break and calm everything down, so it's always a hectic start to the season. I think Koku's come in, another new manager. Obviously, we all know about Frank leaving and left a real good legacy regarding the young players coming through, and I think that's what Koku's tried to continue with. But you know, we've had an indifferent start really. We've only the one win. Obviously, we've lost 2 and drawn 3, but that could have changed. So you know, that could have changed overnight because we drew against West Brom, we drew against Swansea. Potentially, we could have got a draw against Bristol. So we currently sit in 19th, but we could be sitting in 5th place. But that's what happens in the Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, it seems like it's really exciting times at Derby. Of course, you got like to Wayne Rooney coming in, and I know that there was a lot of stories coming out about I suppose a potential takeover from the son of the Gillette guy who owned Liverpool for a little while. Is what's going on with that? Is that something that Derby might welcome, or is it just one of these flash in the pan media stories?
Well, I think it's always going to be. I mean, Derby's a fantastic club, great facilities, a training ground. It is fit for a Premier League club. We're not quite there yet, and I think the owner Mayor has done a fantastic job. And I think he'd always like probably some input or some financial help when you're running things on your own. As you know, it's to run a football club these days. We've seen the horror stories with Bolton and Bury and things like that. So I think you need a bit of help. And I think, but if he was going to get the right person in, you know, you probably want some control as well. It will certainly have a big input still in the football club. But as we know, guys, everybody wants to be in the Premier League. People want to buy Premier League football clubs. So I think sometimes it is very difficult to sell a club, even though the Championship is such a great league as well. So I think there's always rumours circulating around with Derby County because potentially it's a great club to own.
Yeah, it is, and you just touched it there, how great the Championship is. It's certainly on this station, we do discuss the Championship a lot, just given how competitive it is. And this fixture for me is one of the, I suppose, classic ones in the Championship, where it's 2 strong teams, very little between them. I'm looking at this, and it's one of those games that I really can't call. Of course, Cardiff coming down from the Premier League, and they've been okay. They certainly haven't quite hit top gear as yet, so they're certainly there for the taking, aren't they?
They certainly are, and Derby want to get their first home win as well, so that's one they want to get from the fans. Obviously, they've drawn a couple of games at home, but it's always nice to get your first home win. But Neil Warnock, you know, comes in the Championship. He knows all about it. He's worn the T-shirt, hasn't he? He knows what it takes to get promoted. I think when clubs do come down from the Championship, we look at Fulham, they're in the best position at the moment. Cardiff behind, and Huddersfield have had a dreadful start really. So they too take time to acclimatise to the Championship. I don't know why that is, because they've still got Premier League players, but with Neil in charge, he knows all about the Championship. He's been in it for so many years and won it and been so successful. and he knows it's a long season. We're only 6 games into the new season, but it's going to be a great game. Hopefully Derby have been performing well at home, but there's always an extra spice when Neil Warnock comes to town.
Yeah, and I think Derby just seems to be one of those clubs that a lot of people would just like to see in the Premier League again. I know I certainly would, and it just seemed like it's been really, really well run, and you can just see the fruits of that labour starting to pay off, I think, and that's fantastic. Just on the Wayne Rooney thing, it's an interesting one. It's clearly a great signing for numerous reasons, and certainly I'm looking forward to seeing him back in English football. Is there not maybe a slight element of risk that it becomes a Wayne Rooney show, and maybe the efforts of everybody else on the team kind of overshadowed perhaps by the big name that is Wayne Rooney? And look, also I've got to ask, he does have a couple of off the field issues. Is there a concern there for Derby at all?
Well, I think what it is, I think I was watching. Obviously, I was very fortunate to play against. Well, if it was fortunate, because he was a great player, play against Wayne, and he's had a wonderful career. You're always going to get the off-field problems, but really sometimes overshadows his on-field success. England's greatest goal scorer or leading goal scorer, same at Man United. And he said in his interview, he's got the same energy and enthusiasm as he's always had. So to come into Derby and play, and if you've got a fit Wayne Rooney, it's going to be a great spectacle for the fans, and he can hope get the club promoted or help them lead to promotion. And you're right there, because we've got a lot of youngsters coming into the game now. The philosophy, what Mel wants to run, is get the lads from the academy coming through and raise their stock, and potentially they can be great championship players, or even they'll go on to play into the Premier League. So the future is very bright. I just think the way the game's gone now, guys, you'll know in the Premier League and even the Championship, it's very much commercial now, isn't it? It's very much about ticket sales and shirt sponsors and stuff like that. And I think in some ways, if you get a fit Wayne Rooney, everybody says it's a great bit of business, and also the commercial side of it as well. He does bring that with him. But you're always going to get the off-field problems which are going to circulate, and hopefully he's going to come here, perform superbly well on the pitch, and hopefully be a great success.
Yeah, indeed. Son of former Liverpool owner George Gillette, supposedly in talks to buy Derby. What do you think makes Derby such an attractive prospect for a potential owner?
Well, I think what it is, if you look at the Championship team to be getting 30,000 every week, it's incredible. So I think they've got the opportunity and the plans to maybe expand that. So that could take up to maybe 40, 45,000. I'm pretty sure that Mel has got something in behind the scenes running. So it's just a great football town. I mean, when I was playing there, to think you're in the Championship, even when they've dropped below that, to have that amount of fans coming in such a small city is incredible. But the setup as well, it's well run. As we said, it's a wonderful facility. And the training ground, wow, the training ground is one of the best I've seen. So it is on a par with Premier League clubs. But as we know, guys, the Championship is so difficult to get out of. You've got to earn the right to get into the Premiership. But if they got there this time, and with the infrastructure, the young players behind the scenes coming through, hopefully they can stay there for years to come.
One of the things that it always seems really unfair to me when clubs like Derby are going up against various other clubs is you can't really help what city or what town you're based in, and a lot of the London clubs get a lot of kind of unfair signings in a sense, because the players want to be so close to the bustling metropolis that is London, of course. So I just thought, you're somebody who's, look, I'm from the north, I made it down, I made it out, I made it beyond the wall, I even spent a bit of time at university in Nottingham, which is not a million miles away from Derby, of course. I want you to sell Derby to me. I want you to sell the city. Why on earth, if I ever suddenly develop a footballing talent, should I come and join Derby and not sign for a London club?
Well, look, you've got the Derbyshire Dales for a start. Look, now you can tell I'm retired, can't you? You've got some beautiful surroundings there. So if you're a walker, the family can come up. Beautiful place to live. Lots of countryside. Get away from the hustle bustle of the city. Great football club, as we know. Great training facilities. So I don't know if that sold it enough for you guys, but yeah, Nottingham University is great, and obviously you've got Birmingham University as well. I know it's a bit of our rivals, but it's very central in the country. So hopefully that's done enough to get a few signings.
So, so we're trying to sell this to a world-class footballer. We just got to hope they really enjoy walking. That's what we're
getting at. And they like to study. Exactly.
Yes,
bingo.
Yeah, there's plenty of those footballers around. We'll be absolutely fine. Mark, great stuff. In fact, just very quickly, because obviously you mentioned the international break, and they fall at funny times, don't they? I always find this, where the season's barely got going. We have our first international break. A few more games in, there's another international break. It's quite disruptive, isn't it?
It certainly is. You think for a new manager coming in, especially Cocker, look where he's come from, look probably quite relaxed in Holland and the way they play, and he's very laid back, real gentleman, and the way he conducts himself superbly well. So August is almost like right at you, like 6 games come thick and fast, lots of games in a short period of time, and then they decide, right, we'll have an international break. You think that's time to reflect on the start and then get injured players back fit. Half of your team away on international duty, so you ain't got time to really work on the training ground and really work with the players because half your squad is around. So I think it's a very difficult time, for any manager, not just our manager. And I do sometimes, and then especially when the friendlies come in as well. I know this week it's been European qualifiers, but when they go away and have the friendlies, that always does baffle me because ultimately, if these players do come back with knocks or injuries, it can disrupt the next games. I mean, we've got a game, as you know, Friday night. Players got to come back. It doesn't give them that much time to recover. I know that happens all around the country. So I really do feel for the managers when they really want to get some detail on the training ground done. I think it's difficult for them.
Great stuff. Mark, appreciate you coming on.
Pleasure. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Stuff. Mark Edworthy, Derby ambassador. Of course, Derby host Cardiff tomorrow night, which should be an interesting game. Now, we had before, Mark, of course, we were talking to Alan Lamb, who gave us a fantastic insight, very honest interview, didn't he, Alan? He really went into some real detail. And it's what we want because, far too often you have athletes that don't necessarily give that honest, insightful interview. Now, thankfully, we've got another really honest interview. Oh, yeah. Real insight. So I haven't heard it yet, but I've been told I have to listen to it, and I believe producer Kieran has produced it for us. So Eric Lamela is going to enlighten us.
We will try to do our best this season. At the moment, we didn't start amazing, but we know also we play City and Arsenal away. Now the key is to start winning at home. I hope to do well in all the competitions.
Well, that's nothing, isn't it?
Well, I mean, look to do
we've got some games coming up, and it'd be nice if we won some of those games. We'll try to.
We'll try to, yeah. No insight whatsoever. Although, in fairness, actually, I feel a little bit bad. I mean, it's obviously not his primary language, is it?
What makes you say that, mate?
Huh?
What makes you say that?
Well, look, it's not, is it?
I don't know. It sounded speaking the Queen's to me. I thought that.
It's like...
Are you all right? Huh? Are you all right? You hearing things? Or Eric Lamela? Why hasn't he got an England call up?
9:45.
Have you had enough of extortionate energy bills? A spokesman said could help you find the cheapest energy deals on the market. Don't take our word for it. There's hundreds of spokesman said customers who've saved big. Brian from Derbyshire saved £400 on his energy bills, and Tony from Northampton saved a massive £2,800 on his gas and electric. A spokesmansaid.com, the leading price comparison site where you can switch to the cheapest energy tariffs on the market in just minutes.
The spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Alright, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you, and making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support, from how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search One You.
I know my IQ is fantastic. I took a test and the results came back negative.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard and Patrick Christys. We just heard from Eric Lamela, really insightful interview. We got another one, actually, again, giving real insight as to what it means to be a professional footballer and what's needed from Per Mertesacker.
I think we have a lack of balance right now, where you feel like, okay, we have amazing strikers, but they as well need to understand we need to have a certain compactness. I think we need to be cautious of that, no matter how much striking power you've got, you need to have a sense of defensive compactness from everyone.
I mean, that's not dreadful.
It's not dreadful, but I think the point there is that he's almost dug out his own Arsenal team, hasn't he? Because he is currently a head coach at the Arsenal Academy.
Yeah.
So he's kind of almost gone, well, got a lack of balance, etc.
He's basically said, we're really good going forward, we can't defend.
Yeah. Yeah,
essentially. Which is true. I mean, look, it's honest.
Which is true, but you wouldn't want him doing your PR, would you?
No, you wouldn't want to employ...
Richard Lee had a stellar Premier League career, plagued by injury, which he's yet to recover from. Question marks were raised over his mentality after a disastrous game against Hull.
Whoa.
What?
Huh?
What?
It would be like being employed by Love Sport Radio and being like, we've got a fantastic drive time show, but not sure about the breakfast show.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. That's what I should have gone for.
Yes,
Very sorry. Very sorry about
digging
that.
out my Hull experience.
No, you know what? I'm jealous because I've never been to Hull.
Hull.
Sorry. Yeah, Hull. Just, well, sorry, we'll dump that, Kieran. We're big in Hull.
This is just, I misspoke.
But just on the Per Mertesacker stuff, right? On the Per Mertesacker stuff.
Yeah.
So a couple of interesting stories about two London clubs, Chelsea and Arsenal, that emerged late last night. Now, Chelsea are only giving away 830 tickets to Ajax supporters when they play each other in the Cup. And the reason for this is that Ajax, the official line, and this appeared on Ajax's website, and Ajax clearly weren't happy about this, is that Ajax fans have got a reputation for causing trouble across Europe. Now, I wasn't particularly aware that the Ajax fans were much worse than, say, Galatasaray fans or some of the Italian ultras. And I know that last time that they were here, there were a couple of issues in terms of them apparently ripping up paving stones and throwing them around. But that said, there was something like 9 arrests, which is not that uncommon for a football match, right? Let's be honest. It's not ideal, but it's not uncommon. Now, Per Mertesacker also said that he, at Arsenal, as in his role as the head of their academy, has been talking to players about gang violence in London and the risks of it. It comes after Mesut Ozil and Kolasinac, of course, were accosted at knife point in Golders Green by these hooded gangs on mopeds, right? Now, it's made me wonder about this, because apparently what the British police force as a whole has said is that they want to reduce the number of tickets for any away team coming from Europe. Now, this to me doesn't smack to me that these European fans have got particularly more violent or particularly worse. I think there's a lack of police, and that's what the reality is at the moment, that we are now forced into a position where we say we can't protect actual Premier League footballers from the likes of, violent hooded gangs, which is why Ozil and Kolasinac had to employ their own private security outside their property. We also can't essentially keep the streets safe when football fans turn up and have a drink, and they're blaming it on the violence of these European fans. I think that's masking a real issue here, which is that no longer in this country, sadly, can people come from all over the world to watch and support their football team, because we can no longer guarantee their safety or the safety of other players. And what does this do for England's reputation as a whole? If you've got the best players in the world who wanted to come to a league, are they going to want to live in a country that's deemed unsafe?
You make a good point, as always. Let us know your thoughts. 0208 70 20 558. We're coming towards the end of another fantastic show. It's been thoroughly enjoyable. Kieran Critchard has come to celebrate with us.
Yeah, just before he takes to his seat there, did everyone see, how Raheem Sterling now is widely regarded as one of the best footballers in the world, a future Ballon d'Or winner. His performances for England have been sensational, and Manchester City. What a lovely chap he is as well. He gave a young boy his boots after the game at St Mary's. So a young lad was in the crowd there, but he said, "Raheem, can I have your boots?" And he took the boots off. The boots that I imagine just had like scorch marks on the bottom of them because he'd been running that quickly, and gave him his boots. What a nice guy.
Really, really good.
Yes, some of the papers actually have picked up on that today in the Telegraph. Sterling has gone from hate figure to national treasure. I think that was Jason Burt's article in the Telegraph. So has been highlighted that a few years ago was criticised. I mean, you look at his goal ratio for England was atrocious before the World Cup, and since the World Cup has been very, very good, and has certainly stepped up in an England shirt in addition to what he's doing for Manchester City. We're going to turn our attention a little bit to rugby union, and obviously the World Cup not far away, just over a week's time until it gets underway next Friday. And interestingly, 3 different interviews with 3 players that haven't made the cut for England. Former captain Dylan Hartley, Danny Cipriani and Mike Brown. Some pretty strong comments from Mike Brown, who said, "I am England's best fullback." Some pretty strong comments there despite not making the cut. Obviously he was involved in a scuffle, a fight with Ben Teo. Now he said he's not going to divulge too much on that, but the implication was probably in a book that he's going to write at some point in the future, he'll probably expand on what really happened with Ben Teo in Italy on that training camp. Dylan Hartley, haunted by missing out on his perfect send-off, that he said it was like I died when squad was announced. They had missed out. He's obviously had a horrendous time with injury, struggled to come back from a serious knee injury that he's had for a long while, concussions as well. I think partly with Hartley, it was also... There you go, partly with Hartley. That it was mainly to do with the form, that he wasn't England's best hooker, and actually, in a weird way, the injury... It's difficult to words because it's never nice to see someone injured, and you can't just wish someone just gets injured to leave them out. But I think it got to a point where he was not just England's he wasn't their number one, but he was perhaps falling further down the pecking order. So maybe the injury did allow Eddie Jones to take him out of the squad and promote players above him, more enforced than not. And then finally, Danny Cipriani, he said he needed a miracle to be selected. I think was comparing about turning water to wine in order to sway Eddie Jones. He says he's come to terms with it.
You know a thing or two about wine, wouldn't he?
Yeah. I think he says he accepts it, but again, it's just ridiculous how the reigning Gallagher Premiership Player of the Year, one of England's most talented players, their second best fly half, isn't in the England squad. You go into a World Cup surely picking your best squad, and there are a number of players, funnily enough, who were at the Premiership launch at Twickenham yesterday that aren't in this England squad that could arguably be there. Dan Robson, for example, of Wasps there as well, that surely... You go into a World Cup, and that's what England didn't do last time out in 2015. You pick your best squad. You pick the squad that you think gives you the best chance of winning a World Cup. Danny Cipriani is one of the most talented players England have got, and has proved for 6-7 years now the consistency of performance on the field, consistently being one of the best fly halves in the Premiership. And yet, I think it's one of these where, a bit like we're hearing rumours of Southgate having something against James Maddison, Eddie Jones has always had something about Danny Cipriani. Now, Cipriani hasn't helped himself at times. I'm not going to shy away from that.
He got hit by a bus on a stag do in Leeds.
He did get hit by a bus.
And out with Kelly Brook for a while.
He did. He has made some mistakes, but
I wouldn't call that a mistake, mate.
Going into a World Cup,
best thing he's ever done.
Going into a World Cup, surely you need to pick your best team, and I cannot believe it. Cannot believe that Eddie Jones has not picked him. He's always had a vendetta against Danny Cipriani, and he's found any opportunity. The one time he did pick him was in South Africa last year, and in the final test, which was the only test that England won in Cape Town, who was starting at 10 and who had a good game? Danny Cipriani.
So I got it right. 1-0.
So yeah, he says he's come to terms with it, but I'm sure he'll be thinking how on earth he's not on that flight to Japan.
I love questions like that when you've already given the answer a few seconds earlier, and
Yeah. That's why my pub quiz team fell through. Yeah. Okay, so it looks from Cipriani to Vardy, you might be having a party.
He might be. Now, Southgate is considering handing Jamie Vardy an international return. Now, he retired after the 2018 World Cup, and perhaps cited the fact that he didn't feel like he could get in ahead of Harry Kane. He's certainly been playing pretty well ever since Brendan Rodgers took over at Leicester. My view on that would be, Jamie Vardy isn't an exceptional footballer that you'd say we definitely need him back in. We need him in the starting 11. He turned his back on England, and therefore England shouldn't just be running back to Jamie Vardy when they don't necessarily really, really desperately need him. And as my mother would always say, you don't retire from international sport. International sport retires you.
Just a little, just before we finish, you regularly talk about your grandfather's quite strict approach to cricket.
Yes.
Your mother's quite strict approach.
Your biggest fans, may I add.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. But you got quite a strict upbringing. You all right, mate?
Very, very opinionated family, I get the impression.
It's good, though. I like it. I bet you've got a flag.
The Ross Barkley
Have you got a flagpole on your front lawn?
No, we don't.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
I could imagine there being some really heated discussions in your house.
I love it.
That's an understatement,
Really?
especially as, let me just put it like this, my final comments. In myself, two brothers, mum and dad, one Liverpool fan, two Manchester United fans, two Manchester City fans. I'll leave you with that.
Do you know, we just need to throw Patrick Christys into the mix. That'd be fantastic. Well, look, great stuff. Thanks, Kieran. Thanks, Kieran, number 2. Patrick, thank you very much. Do stay tuned. Martin Bell is up next. We're back tomorrow at 6:30. Listen to Love Sport.
This is Love Sport.
Hi, my name's Kurt Edwards. I work in advertising and live in Surrey. Last year, the family content insurance was £745. A friend of mine had recommended a spokesman said.com when it came for this year's renewal. I managed to get it for £403. So for those 10 minutes on that website, I saved over £340. Told my family, my friends, you'd be absolutely mad not to give it a go.
thespokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work that way. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others.